Alrighty, good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Smudcast number 821, The Problems with Modern Media Discourse, all in capitals, why not? And this is from a videoer or YouTuber called Colin. Colin period. I think I've heard of this guy before. I don't know if we covered him before, but I'm sure I've heard of him before.
I have a déjà vu.
Yeah, I don't know.
Might be.
I can't remember. Anyway.
At least there's not media literacy in the title.
This is a very good point, because if he said media literacy, this was going a totally different direction than I thought it would be. And for a 25-minute video, he has outlined his sections very well in terms of good subjects to cover. So response videos, that's what we do. Subjectivity versus objectivity, very good third point to bring up. Low standards, if you're talking about having standards or having any kind of criteria, you have to have some table of contents of your ideas of what you like and what you dislike and why. And just the list goes down. Unfortunately, the other half is brain rot, political stuff, pretentious brain rot, and just goes down and down and down. So I don't know how horrible that's going to be, but I think that's why he listed those things, because that's what happened to media discourse over the years, starting with political brain rot, which is, unfortunately, I think the majority of people we cover either goes into the area of politics or unknowingly modern isms, which is part of politics, even though they're not aware of that, or they're just dumb enough to not even know what the buzzwords mean when they talk about social justice or other ideas. So that's fine.
Well, that's the whole trick. That's the whole trick of it.
You get these weirdos that don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, it's weird. So 25 minutes. This is, to
Actually,
me...
could I ask two questions?
Sure.
First, do I sound okay? Because I've been trying to mess with my mic settings and the push to talk settings. So
you sound good.
Okay, and then the second one is, well, what would you think the problems with media discourse be?
In that we have seen, I would say it's mostly people injecting their subjective ideas, whether it's politics or their feelings or their preferences towards a certain genre or a certain series. It always gets in the way of actually addressing either an objective standard or any standard that you can follow so that they're consistent with their opinions. Because I don't care that Joe Blow liked a thing or the Prime Minister liked a thing. I want to know, what is the thing that you believe in that has the standard that all of us possess, like science fiction has science or whatever, and why is it good? And then just show me why it's good. Because anyone can say something sucks. That's not hard. But it's when someone says, this is great, like the Joker movie apparently isn't very good. Some people love it. I don't know what's going on.
It's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah. So yeah, I have no idea. No one's giving me an objective take so far, so I'm just waiting for the reviews to come in and to have people's opinions pop up. So yeah, that's what we're looking for: objective critique, not subjective political mumbo jumbo.
I would say a big problem is, maybe the main problem, even beneath the political stuff, because that just rides on it, is that a lot of advertisement as well as assassination disguises itself as critique in both directions. And well, that especially for the politically injected things, the propaganda type movies, series, games, we get a lot of shilling from alleged professionals, whether it's in video games websites like IGN that just give everything a positive note that has the propaganda stuff in it, or Rotten Tomatoes, where the same happens for movies, and things that don't have the propaganda stuff in it get bad official reviews, bad scores. That is a problem, because that's not giving me a measure of is the movie any good, but it does give me a measure of, does it have the propaganda stuff in it, which then tells me, is the movie likely any good or bad? Because if it has it in it, so the critics like it, so it likely has the stuff in, and the audience doesn't like it, that is an indicator that the movie contains the propaganda and I can ignore it. As well as the other way around. The professional critics don't like it, but the audience does. is an indication that it doesn't contain the propaganda, and the movie's actually good because the professional critics aren't real critics. They're just agitation, propaganda, shills. They're corrupt. They just tell you what you are, not what you want to hear or what you should hear, but what they think you should hear, which is propaganda good, so that they get paid more, get invited more. And we have a similar thing in the video game journalism problem, because that thing is just wholly corrupt. There's a few exceptions, but I'd say 99% are just useless and should lose their jobs.
It's organizations like IGN. Oh, go ahead, yeah.
It's usually called access media.
Okay.
And since the propagandists are running the production at this point, they are the ones controlling the access for the journalists. Does the journalists say, you must like this product, because they see us not as so they see us as they see us as consumers, which means they see us as pigs that just should eat the slop they present us with, instead of customers. Because a customer is to be respected.
I will say about IGN, I saw recently the past month the past few weeks actually, with the release of the embargo on Dragon Age coming out this month, I think. Yes, it's pro Dragon Age. They like all the content and all that jazz. But even the reviewers who are looking at the media as a whole are saying, yeah, this doesn't feel right. Something's off. I don't like this. I don't like that. They're hopeful, but they're literally playing the game and talking to the creators while they're getting the gold copy. And they're saying, yeah, something's not quite Dragon Age. There's something missing. So everyone knows it. Everyone sees it. All the people who know the game and been watching the downfall of BioWare and various other software they've been developing are just not the same over the years. And Dragon Age is just the latest example of, okay, we're going to have a mixture of different people in charge of plans that are foiled and then brought up again and then foiled, and then they just keep randomly changing course. And that's what you get. Doesn't matter how polished it is. It's still a pile of crap. It just looks pretty. It has that popular mobile game color to it that everyone is like, yeah, that's not Dragon Age. That's something from Fortnite or whatever.
Purple and green.
Yeah, so it's appealing to the masses, but then you lose the idea of what Dragon Age used to be.
Is it the masses, though? Is it?
In Fortnite? Yeah, popularity, yeah.
Yeah. But what they think the wider audience is, or the new audience is both wrong. So the modern audience is just the propaganda claim, because the modern audience doesn't exist. It's what they want to exist. It's what they want to shape us into. It's like the new man in the red ideology that doesn't exist, but that they want to exist so that they can make their stupid crap system utopia work, which can't because it's not made for humans. Just like the modern audience is not a human audience. It's not made. These products are not made for humans. They're made for weird drone things. The other part is I've lost the thought, but I remembered another. Even Red Letter Media, which acts confused a lot of the time. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, maybe they're cautious. I don't know. Have noticed that a lot of the reviews on pages like Rotten Tomatoes that are extremely positive about many of the really crap movies, they give the 4 stars, but then the text reads negative. So there's a dissonance. There's a complete dissonance. It's not all of those professional reviews, but a lot of them, a noticeable number of them, give positive numbers but write negative. Just as you described about Dragon Age on IGN. They give it a good score. But the textual review is more critical. And that means we cannot trust the numbers. Never.
It's kind of like the stupid people are just doing the stupid thing they've been doing for years and years and realizing, hey, I've learned a bit more. I'm less stupid, and I realize things. There's patterns that maybe there's a thing to this video game process that everyone's been doing for the past 30 years that I can see is getting worse and worse as opposed to better and better. like control schemes and magic systems and progression and RPG systems and stats. It's like, yeah, we like anyone who's played games in the past few years can know that RPGs are the predominant genre and are integrated into most other games, and they have a certain way to make things fun and exciting because you're challenging the player to get further and get better and better. And with Dragon Age, you see this player type, this class that can be anything, like you saw with Andromeda. You could just be anything. You could be any class. You could be use any weapon. It doesn't matter. You just modify it on the fly. So
it's just the blank character that can develop in any direction.
It's
That's
so
okay.
generic. But you're taking away from the characterization when you do that. You can't have the Omni-Man just walk into a room and do everything, push a button, and the whole world's a remote control to him. You can't do that. So we're finally realizing that. I think even with other genres or other media, like the isekai genre, which is pretty much done everything I could think of. There's probably not too much left they can do, but it doesn't matter if it's redundant. It matters when
this is the stuff that sticks out is the stuff that hasn't been done yet, and I think that is since Japan does everything, they also do all of the normal iterations, the tiny variants, but it's that when there's no new big iterations of the genre coming, that's when it's about to end. I think that's what you're describing.
Yeah, it's funny because I could see the upcoming problems with every isekai I'm about to watch, because not only have read most of them half the time, but because you say, I'm going to set up a character to be a moron, but he's amazing at everything else, and you can just see the comedy coming, and it's going to get old the second time through. So yeah, it's kind of like people aren't recognizing these patterns. And nowadays we're getting there, and people are either lying because they're biased, or they're so stupid they still don't recognize the patterns, and they're just enthusiastic. It's kind of like what we have in government. The people who are just so enthusiastic, but they're so dumb they just ruin everything. And why is it working? Why are we wasting money? Blah blah blah. So
well, because a bunch of dumb narcissistic children at the levels, and they think like Lenin did. That you don't even need, that the only thing you need for running an administration, running a bureaucracy, is basic arithmetic skills, like addition, subtraction. You don't need more.
All right.
And that completely failed. That completely crashed.
All right.
Because he just wanted to get the old bureaucrats out, got the new ones in. They were just party men, and they were all incompetent, and the whole thing crashed. And then he said in his parliament, anyone who brings up such an idea is obviously a traitor, and that should be persecuted. Nobody mentioned that it was his idea initially. And that's kind of what we're in right now. We're repeating that in a different iteration.
Yeah.
Like the isekai iterations, if you will. I think I misunderstood you there on the Omni character.
Yeah, the idea of...
because there's a way to do that right, and I think that is how Path of Exile does it. You have the basic classes, but technically you can walk around the entire skill tree of everyone.
Well, I'm talking about a narrative, not necessarily RPG mechanics. It's a different story.
Okay.
It's usually done as a mentor character who usually ends up either leaving or dying.
I think
the Omni character.
Yeah, I think the three main elements that an RPG is made up of that appeals to people who play RPGs. So one is the world. Is it intriguing? That requires consistency as well, which Veilguard throws out the window. The second is the narrative elements, which is the characters, the character interactions. Are they interesting? Are they well written? Are the characters interesting and consistent? And Veilguard throws that out, as well as did Andromeda. And the third one is the numbers game, the complex systems that you can play. Not all RPGs need that or have that, but when they have it, they shouldn't pretend to have it complex. And the Dragon Age dumped that down more and more and more, where now we're at the auto attack click fest.
All right. Well, let's get on with the video. Thanks for the question there, Eric. I'm happy we addressed everything under the sun to get there. But
You're welcome.
I've one more thing
Uh-oh.
that I remembered about the audience thing. The contrast to the modern audience being the wider audience that they were chasing before the modern audience was invented, and the I think it does exist, but they're usually not tapping into it because the wider audience, when it's done wrong, you just dilute your IP. But Magic the Gathering recently had a set called Bloomborough that was not of any of these fancy crossover IPs they did or anything super special weird, like the new one is a horror themed set. It was just animals in the forest doing magic fantasy stuff. Like fighting with swords, throwing around fireballs. It was just cute animals. And not cartoon animals, not quirky animals, but classic fantasy, they're animals in the forest. And that had an extremely wide appeal. There were very few people who didn't like it. And I think that is the true wider audience. The inoffensive general idea of a thing, the core essence of fantasy, because that was just pure fantasy. And how do you do that with ideology? You don't. It doesn't work.
I often say that the widest audience for anything good is anyone, whereas the only things that are for everyone are air and water. Not even food is for everyone, because not everyone likes the same sort of food. There's people who are allergic, So,
that's a good distinction.
so-
that I think only works in English. Because you have the everyone and anyone the distinction.
All right, let's get started. We got Eric has just given us a donation of $10 for some reason. But thank you, Eric. I know that I can't take no more. It ain't no lie. I want to see you and that door, baby. Bye, bye, bye. I don't know. That's song or something. A poem.
In sync.
Oh my God, that was in sync. Really?
Yes.
How old are you, Eric? Jesus.
Yes. Just
And why did you listen to NSYNC back in the day? That's a weird one. Anyway, let's get started.
It's the fact that they used that song in Deadpool and Wolverine. That's why.
Yeah, you didn't see it.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm sorry. No.
No worries.
I'll get around to watching my Canadian brothers another time. Anyway, let's keep going.
Media. It's something that a lot of people consume on a very frequent basis, but it's also something that's discussed a lot as well. Hell, it's the reason you clicked on this video and or why you're subscribed to my channel. But there are problems with media discourse and things that annoy me that I really want to go over in this video, whether it be for video games, movies, TV shows, etc. But today I will be mainly focused on storytelling media discourse, or that will be my primary example. But that doesn't mean the things said in this video can't be spread into all forms of media, so let's start with the first thing I want to discuss. Now, it's no secret that if you follow me that I make a good amount of response videos on this channel. One of the videos that got this account traction in the first place was a response video to someone who I'm now friends with. And my most viewed videos on the channel are mostly made up of response videos. And yes, I know it's because a lot of people like drama and are attracted to it, but yeah. But in my time making these response videos, I've gotten very similar comments under my videos. And the number one repeat comment under all my response videos is something I kind of want to get into. That being, you can't debunk an opinion, or it's just their opinion. Why do you care? This kind of comment has always been incredibly stupid to me for multiple reasons. First,
depend on what the opinion is based on. I keep hearing from another group someone's some hypothetical opinion. I don't like Lord of the Rings because there's too many gunfights in it. And yeah, that's obviously an opinion born of lies.
Yeah, no, and opinions can be bad and they could be criticized like anything else. That's true. All right.
Google search and reading a simple definition, you would see that the definition of a debunk is to expose the falseness or hollowness of a myth, idea, or belief. Now, I know reading, listening, and having basic literacy is hard for a large number of people on social media, especially when you're saying something they don't agree with, but you can in fact expose the hollowness of someone's opinion and point out why it's a weird one to have. And something else that has happened in numerous response videos of mine that also falls under this definition is when someone makes a criticism of something, they will either just intentionally lie about what they're criticizing or unintentionally misrepresent something that they're criticizing. And both of these things, I think, fall under something that a lot of people seem to overlook when it comes to discussing media, and that's subjectivity versus objectivity. Let's take a look at some
So, first good point. He's talking about substance. And so because he criticizes hollowness, that means a lack of substance. Please continue. You wanted to say, Fred?
That seems to be making some good points.
Yeah, I like him so far.
on this. If someone, for example, says, I don't like Batman, that's a completely fine statement on its own. But if you question why that person doesn't like Batman and they say, because he's a human and can do stuff no normal human can do, so it's stupid, well, then we have an opinionated statement right there that someone can now go and expose the hollowness of. If I was to see this criticism, there's multiple things I would question. One being, well, do you think all human characters that do unrealistic things in fiction are bad? To judge whether they have an inconsistent standard or not. Because then by default, you've already exposed why their take on one character compared to another is hollow. Another thing...
Nitpick. Because he's nitpicking about the right things. There's a difference between not liking a character versus thinking a character is bad. Because if you don't like Batman because he can't do he does things that humans can't do, that doesn't mean you think he's a bad character. It's just not your liking of fiction.
Well,
so far, those are different things.
The actual criticism so far is don't like Batman because it does things normal people can't. So it does seem like a bit of a silly reason not to like Batman, but it's not necessarily.
Yeah, no, but it's not. What I mean is he then switches to saying thinking that Batman is a bad character, which is a different thing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it depend on which version of Batman though? Or just Batman
that is another topic entirely.
Oh god, the Christian Bale Batman. I think it's only got one good movie.
Don't get started.
A problem that human characters in fiction can... A response you might get is, well, Batman's power scaling is inconsistent, therefore it breaks the logical consistency of the story. Now, this is a criticism that starts off with substance. Or sorry, it can lead into something with substance. So it starts to become less hollow. But what you can do from there is start having a discussion about whether or not Batman's feats actually are inconsistent in whatever story you're criticizing of the character. And at that point, you may be able to expose the falseness of the claim. And obviously, there are things that are extremely subjective in media, or just in general, whether it be the visual quality of a film, someone's favorite color or food, how good a character design is, things like that. But to circle us back to subjectivity versus objectivity, to put this in the most simple terms possible, the best way I can describe it is using this as an example. If I was to point out a plot hole or inconsistency with the rules of an established world, the way a character acts, or how powerful a character is, and nobody can come up with a good defense that debunks that criticism, then I would see this as a problem with the story that I'm criticizing. Do I think it's objectively a problem with the story that everyone has to take issue with? No, but that's kind of where I finish the point. Because what I would say is that if I point out these logical inconsistencies within a story and nobody can debunk it, then that is objectively a logical inconsistency within the story. But whether or not you see it as a problem in the story, that's where the subjective part of the media consumption comes in. People are going to have different standards for media. People are going to be impacted by a piece of media and take it more seriously than others and be impacted differently than others. But then that leads me to another problem within media discourse that I see, whether it be in my comments or just on social media in general. So let's start off by talking about standards.
Okay, so he's kind of getting to what objectivity refers to, and he just, I think, happenstance talked about standards, so it's like you're getting there just in a very lapsadaisical kind of way. So, good for you.
He doesn't waste time, does he?
Yeah, he's good.
People are going to have different standards for things, and that's fine to an extent. But I do think it's genuinely harmful to media being created when people have standards that are so low. Like on my Far From Home video, for example, I got a good amount of comments from people that consider things like a character being out of character or character assassinated, or numerous logical inconsistencies within something, or things that destroy the world building of a universe. I got a lot of comments under that video saying that a lot of my criticisms were nitpicks. So let me just simply actually break down what a nitpick actually is. By definition, what a nitpick is described as is to find or point out minor faults in a fussy or pedantic way. Now, I think to put it simpler, it would be to simply criticize something that doesn't really matter much, something that doesn't really break the cause and effect of the events of the story, or something that doesn't do damage to a character. Now, what is cause and effect in storytelling? Well, this is something that I explained in one of my videos previously when talking about plot armor. So first we need to establish...
Oh, no, that's too many. That's too many things at once.
Yeah, he's jumping around. He's beginning an idea and he's connecting to another idea, then he's jumping to that idea.
Yeah. So just on a nitpick, because I used one just before he got to that. That's a pebble, but a pebble can start an avalanche if you're not careful. We have to be, especially when you talk about logic, which he tries to. If you want to get to objective criticism, objectivity. We need to nitpick, because if we don't take care, if we are not careful, cautious, then we build on an unstable foundation, and there cannot be little pebbles under the foundation that make it all wobbly and eventually break.
Yeah,
that's why it's important.
It's like he knows the meaning of these words, but he's taking like the 1/5 definition. He's using that, and then he's like, here's causation. Well, let me talk about plot armor. It's like, causation is one of the definitions of plot. I don't know why we're on plot armor. That's kind of unnecessary. But this is how he's talking, and I'm like, can you actually define the word and explain it and show what's a good one and what's a bad one, per example? Now he's just going to another, I made a video on plot armor. Let's talk about that. It's like, okay. Keep going.
But you like this guy, right?
He's smart. He knows what he's talking about.
He's on the right track.
It's like he's in the ballpark, but he's not like telling me exactly what I need to know.
Oh, no, it's very soothing.
2 minutes ago.
He's got a nice voice.
And I agree with Chad that yes, at least he is this, to contrary to all the other people we cover, he is defining terms. And it may just be the superficial beginning, but it is there. That's something to build on.
All right.
Plot armor. Now, the dictionary definition used to refer to the phenomenon in fiction whereby the main character is allowed to survive dangerous situations because they are needed for the plot to continue. But this definition isn't very specific, and it can be applied to almost every piece of action media. Just because a character survives a dangerous situation or does something very impressive, that doesn't inherently make it plot armor. Because if a character has the abilities, powers, skill, willpower, etc., and those things are consistent or pre-established before the character is placed into a dangerous scenario, for them to...
Oh no, that's obvious. That it's for the thing about plot armor is that the character gets away against any odds that make sense within the logic of the world of the story. Like, for example, if this was an actual movie here, instead of a video game, which is limited in how it can do animations, that character's giant axe that just went right through Miles Morales' midriff should have killed him. But it didn't, not because of plot armor, but because of the game physics. But if it was a movie, well, then it would be plot armor, because somehow Miles retroactively had some trick on how to skip that wasn't told to the audience before. Which is something that happens a lot in the second Dune trilogy, which you should never read. I'm
a bit concerned why he didn't like the definition of plot armor. That was perfectly acceptable. So maybe he's getting a nuanced take that is going to elucidate what causation means. Because
I think he's telling us his entire thought process, where he gets to the distinction between the in-universe logic versus reality, or versus just unlikely odds.
Yeah,
because
I know.
plot armor is only about unlikely
But
odds.
he's breaking away from the original topic, which was causation, and I'm like, we got to get back on track here, buddy. You're sounding like a woman who has a second or third thought, expresses the fourth thought, and has a brilliant idea, and then goes on the fifth thought, and then keeps going, and then just keeps going and going, and you're like, where are we? What are we doing again? So,
well, maybe it is a woman. You don't know.
yeah, maybe. Anyway, 5 minutes in.
Out of said scenario in a logical manner, keyword logical, then that is not plot armor. But if, for example, me, was to fight Reverse Flash, a normal real-world human, and I was able to beat Reverse Flash in a fight, someone who is literally faster than the concept of speed and time, then there's no logical reason why I should win that fight, because I have no reason to be winning that fight. And even if you were to give me a reason for winning that fight, like let's say the anti-Speed Force device or gold kryptonite from Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, that reason could still be poorly written and still be illogical for reasons that I laid out.
The reason usually is the villain is stupid.
16th thing is, we obviously know when they fight Superman, and I don't even think I need to explain this. Superman scales to Flash and speed, and it is stated by Batman, or Superman is stated by Batman, to be the most powerful being in the Justice League. Or on the planet. Even Barry is massively confused on how Brainiac can even capture Clark. I don't need to explain this. It's fucking Superman. And I don't give a steaming shit that he's affected by gold kryptonite, purple kryptonite, pink kryptonite, cryptocurrency. It doesn't fucking matter. He doesn't need to get close to any of them. Even though he could literally speed blitz any of them and knock their heads off before they...
He's touching gold kryptonite there.
A gold boomerang, to be exact.
Ginga?
Yeah, a boomerang made of golden kryptonite. That's supposed to depower him completely.
Not completely. It is overtime.
He manages to switch. What is it? Metropolis into daytime, even though it's nighttime. He just
also the plot hole that the kryptonite that can actively hurt him is green, and they don't use green.
And they do use green. It's just that's on Wonder Woman's shield, and somehow she's the only one that doesn't get mind control because obvious reasons, probably.
All right.
Because doesn't it just mean that this is bad Titan?
It's actually because she's a creation of Zeus. She's not a like a fully living being in that way.
I got to read some super chats. We'll get back to the video here. Kyle Rocket, thoughts on Joker 2? I know LitDev liked it a lot. I haven't watched it. I haven't seen anything about it. Don't know. People
LiteratureDevil?
He did?
Really?
That's hard to believe.
All right. Second one from Kyle Rocket. Thank you again. I'm sorry. I'm trying to focus on what he's saying, but I keep getting distracted by Miles Morales bouncing humans on concrete. Yeah, the physics in these games are insane. They don't gravity has no bearing on anything. It just don't worry about it.
They're only getting bruises. Nobody actually dies because this is PG-13.
Turning your brain into Jello is not.
Yeah, I actually had to close my eyes for a little bit just so I can listen to what he's saying. It's ridiculous how he's bouncing, swinging around, and whatnot.
People turn into mattresses. It's amazing. Anyway, Legacy. Thank you, sir. How's it going, Legacy? Just to be warned, Colin is one of SK's cronies, where he uses so much mental gymnastics that it makes Southpaw look reasonable. It's madtism. He is jumping topics a lot. I know there's a through line connecting them all, but the information itself's been generally solid so far. Yeah,
I reject the idea of likening mental gymnastics to tism in any way.
Well, it's just like once you have a point, you finish the point and move on. He's still on the first point. And we've gone to 3 other topics now. They are connected, but
that's just being scatterbrained.
Well, does he mean the videos or outside of the videos?
I don't know. I haven't watched anything. I'm assuming outside the videos, so I don't know. Anyway, we are on 7 minutes. Let's keep going.
He can easily throw a car at light speed, use his heat vision from range, use his freeze breath from range, throw 100 rocks at light speed, and in the beginning of the fight, he literally can do any of the things I just mentioned, and instead, he flies off for no reason, then comes back instead of doing any of that. There is literally no reason they win this fight. It's bullshit. And one more thing I'd like to establish is that humans, or rather peak humans in fictional settings, that do things that aren't possible at all by real-world standards, that is not plot armor either. Fictional universes tend to have things like exaggerated physics, durability, or physical abilities for their characters when they're human, or even when they are not human. This is why you would look stupid for saying things like, well, Batman is human, so it's not logical for him to beat up a room of 15 men, or for him to be dodging bullets, especially if it's been consistent with the character for a long time, or...
Is Batman ever dodging bullets?
Yes, actually.
Oh god. Which special Batman is that?
Any of them?
It's
Dodging?
not. Yeah, it's not exactly after the shot's been fired from, you know.
Don't you rather mean they have the
the
enemies
same
have bad aim all the time, as in
Didn't,
all?
didn't he dodge a bullet in under the Red Hood?
Yeah, I think.
So he could throw a batarang to disable the gun.
Well,
I mean,
would be-
To get the gun off out of their hand, yeah.
Doing it one time doesn't mean he dodges bullets all the time.
well, I mean, I don't, yeah,
Well,
that's
not all
true,
the time,
true.
but he can.
That's-
It's more he uses his acrobatics to sort of get people to aim wrong and goes the other way.
Yeah, which is the actual idea in the usually mech dojo martial arts.
He isn't just stood still, someone fires a gun and then he dodges the bullet that's already been fired from a standstill.
All right, all right.
The important thing is to not be stationary.
Let's not
Yeah.
ponder the superhuman skills of Batman. Let's get on with the video.
Why not?
I trust there are MMA fighters I trust to beat up rooms of 15 people who are not MMA fighters.
With guns.
Wow.
Anyway,
And rocket launchers.
established before a dangerous situation that Batman or any other character has these capabilities. And one more caveat that I would like to establish is in regards to pre-established well-known characters like Spider-Man, for example. If, for example, in Civil War, I see his spider sense activate and save him from getting hit by Bucky right here, without it really being established beforehand that he has this ability, I will not criticize the film for that.
No, it's
He
because
didn't-
that's Spider-Man. Everybody knows he has that.
I was gonna say the problem is that he doesn't have it yet at this point.
What?
really.
He literally doesn't discover spider sense until Infinity War.
What?
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Spider
This
sense.
is
The actual spider sense superpower. He doesn't
Really?
discover it until Infinity War.
How long do Spider-Men need to get to realize that? Usually?
This is honestly the only one I've ever heard that
Wait.
has actually functioned like that.
How-
Because
No.
Any
More
other-
proof that he's an actual loser at being Spider-Man.
Okay, no. Gigaman, when did they explain? Yeah, when did they explain he discovered this?
because the first time they actually show him having spider sense is in Infinity War. When he senses Thanos' ships coming down.
How? What? Where? How?
Spider sense is one of the things that you establish Spider-Man as before he even has the costume.
Yeah, it's kind of like Superman is bulletproof. You kind of like, oh yeah, of course he's bulletproof.
No. But that comes later. Okay.
Oh yeah, he just flies
he has to
extremely fast.
discover that he is that
How many-
until he realizes that he is bulletproof, he can be shot by bullets. Or
Yeah.
what is this?
But how many years was he Spider-Man before Civil
He
War?
was
six months, I think.
6 months, not even a year.
But still,
That's what I'm saying.
That's long enough for him to have a gun pointed at him from behind.
Regardless, they still need to. Even if
It's
they
enough
know
for him to jump
Fine.
around.
He uses-
The whole jumping around on the spider
he
thread. He requires
Yeah.
the spider sense.
He
Also,
needs it for
he-
swinging around.
Also, he still had the homemade costume for 6 months until Stark gave him the iconic suit.
Bad writing.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Let's not get into the problems of Spider-Man in the MCU, okay? Let's keep going with the video.
Because we all know that Peter has this ability throughout his history, if you don't live under a rock, unless you're John Watts. So that is why I would not criticize Civil War for that ability not being pre-established. So now, let's explain why plot armor is bad. One of the most basic things a writer will learn is cause and effect. In order for you to keep your story logically coherent and for the audience to stay invested in your narrative, one of the things you need to have is good cause and effect. So, for example, when I used the me versus Reverse Flash fight earlier, if that was to happen in an actual story, it can cause a disconnect to the viewer of a piece of media. But when you write a scenario that makes sense within the confines and rules of either your characters or a world, and that scenario allows the plot to progress in a logical and believable fashion, then people are less likely to get disconnected from the piece of media that they are consuming. And this even goes further than just storytelling. It can even stretch into something like music as well. When an artist makes a song and their lyrics don't flow together well, and or they might be like offbeat.
It's something about.
Wait,
They're
what?
all so dead.
Wait, how did that connect? Am I missing something?
So Smud, for the last 4 minutes, it's been just like Professor Anakin Skywalker.
Oh yeah.
Seems like we've been on an interesting side tangent.
Yeah, my cause and effect thesis on plot armor. Like, what are you talking about?
And that ties into music, and we're watching Ice
Yeah,
JJ Fish.
he is jumping another topic. It was smart to connect the cause and effect to plot armor because you're bringing the original topic back, which is good. But now we're going on to another topic for no reason.
20-minute video with a 5-minute side tangent.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to keep going to see where he goes.
That was a plot twist.
Yeah, let me just look at the index now. Okay, nitpicking, main problems with bad discourse, yeah, we are on 9 minutes, and we are supposedly on low standards.
I thought this title was the problems with modern media discourse.
5 minutes so far of low standards, which got into cause and effect, and he's going to change topics on a major topic in about 10 seconds. So no, I don't think he's doing a very good job. All right.
Sad.
Then that can cause a disconnect between the song and the person listening to the song. Now, what was said here is context dependent for some instances of things. So let me just provide an example of a nitpick in a story.
No, where's the meaning originally? You went through like 3 or 4 different examples, and you talked about singing for some reason. Where are we?
Well, he was using that as an example. I just don't know how it worked.
This is like 7 degrees of separation. Like, where are we going? Cause and effect, plot armor, the definition of plot armor, and then about 3 other topics I forgot. Like, what is happening here, dude? Just define the term, show an example of term, why it's important, and show an example where it's good and bad. And that's it. Keep going. What are we doing now?
Not a nitpick in a story. For the first example, I will use the infamous fridge scene from Marvel Spider-Man 2. Now, I would argue that even if a weakened Spider-Man is hit by an attack that leaves him under a fridge for an extra 9 seconds, that MJ should have died here. But what would this really change about the story?
Did she just jump in front of Spider-Man?
Yeah, you don't remember
to save him?
You don't remember Whisp? You've seen this like three or four times now.
I have never seen this scene. Because I didn't care about this game and this ugly Mary Jane self-insert from this stupid narcissistic developer on the team.
Mary Jane? Don't you mean Lord Farquaad?
Yes. Mary Farquaad.
All right, let's keep going.
Oh God.
Because Venom would just revive MJ anyway, and she would become a symbiote, and the fight between MJ and Peter would play out exactly the same. And even if you wanted to make the argument that Peter still shouldn't have been under the fridge either way, then again, nothing would really change about the story because MJ would still become a symbiote, and Peter still wouldn't do shit against Venom to stop it.
No. What are you talking about? First of all, his fire sensor should have jumped him in front of Mary Jane, not the other way around.
Remember, spider sense doesn't work on Venom.
Really?
Well, his
it apparently worked on Mary Jane.
Venom's just fast enough by him to
His reflexes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
because-
Let me rephrase it. His reflexes. Okay.
Oh! Spider-Man's reflexes are worse than Mary Jane's.
Venom.
You're not getting out of this.
Apparently, he needs to have spider sense to have reflexes, guys. It's the only way it works.
I'll be a woman with a mansion.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay, and that extra second difference, if he wasn't pinned under the fridge, would make a difference because you get Venom, and I just don't understand how he doesn't see that as an issue. Like all those 9 seconds or however long he was under that fridge makes the difference.
All right.
About the story would change here. Is this criticism? Yes. But something I think a lot of people forget on both sides is, while nitpicks are still valid criticisms, they are not the end-all be-all of a character or story, and they should never be treated as such. Now, what's an example of something that's not
Okay, so he obviously doesn't see this as a problem. Other people do from a bad story, and
When they pebble up.
yeah,
Like when they all come together, when there's a whole potpourri of these little things, they stack up, and you have a full bowl of stones to munch on.
This is like, if you look at one individual plot point in Mass Effect 2, you're like, yeah, that's pretty stupid. But then it just keeps happening. You're like, okay, something's up. Something like every single plot point is like a joke, or crazy land is suddenly upon us, and we have to follow the logic of the writer. So if this keeps, I don't know the game, guys. I have no idea. But I'm assuming if that keeps happening in the narrative, like Mary Jane keeps like getting in the way of doing things, it's like, what the hell, Mary Jane? Are you like a superhero now?
Well, yeah. I mean, she actually infiltrates Craven's base.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, because they got a free Dr. Connors or whatever. Then she actually fights symbiote hordes and whatnot with her magic gun. And she actually has some Carnian training or what, so you could actually take people down.
Mary Jane, the girlfriend, has training in taking people down with a gun.
I guess.
All right, whatever. I don't know the story anymore.
Isn't there fights? So isn't there someone Mary Jane fights that Peter lost against?
Well, Venom. Obviously, Venom in that cutscene, he totally got bodied by a fridge.
Do you mean in the game or just in general?
Yeah, but I mean in the game. I think there's someone that she fights against that Peter lost against, and she wins. It's
I don't
really
know.
fucking weird.
All right.
Let's use my Spider-Man Far From Home video. In one instance of that video, I pointed out that it was stupid that S.H.I.E.L.D., the organization, doesn't have tinted windows for their cars. Now, this part of it is a nitpick, but what I also brought up in that scene is the fact that Peter takes off his mask while driving in a fishbowl, when anyone from the outside could see his face right there, right after he just drew attention to himself. This is not a nitpick, because if someone took a picture or video of Peter's face, then the story could change. And it also compromises Peter's character because he's revealing his identity in public, which is out of character for Peter. This damages the logical consistency of the plot and the character, and how the story plays out. But the even bigger things that I pointed out in that video is, again, multiple characters being character assassinated and or out of character at multiple points in the movie, numerous other logical inconsistencies within the story, and things that destroy the world building of the universe. These are not nitpicks, and if you cannot come up with a defense for that criticism, then I don't think you should be just acting as though it's not something that shouldn't be fixed. Because
Anyone could say that's a nitpick in any context for that specific element. So, because you don't think it is up to you. But
Yeah, sorry. He was talking about the car tint.
yeah, because everyone saw whatever Peter do something. He takes his mask off, and anyone could have taken a picture like in a moving car. It's like, well, maybe, possibly, it wouldn't be very clear.
If you actually look at the car from the outside, its windows do look tinted. It's just that when it zooms in on the characters' faces, the windows aren't tinted inside the car.
Yeah, this is another issue of camera angles and omniscient viewpoint from the camera, which changes all the time.
There is a point where Peter does take off his mask where it doesn't make any fucking sense, and his spider sense doesn't go off either, and that's when he's in the bar and he gives when Iron Boy Jr. gives Mysterio the glasses.
All right.
doesn't take issue with these kinds of things when you're watching a movie, or anything for that matter, you should at least acknowledge when things break logical consistency, or damage a character's writing, or messes with the world building.
Yeah, but then you're referring to the environment outside of the characters. So he's in a car, he's going down a street. You're assuming people are or aren't interested in what just happened, or were paying attention in the first place. You have to then focus on that for some part of time in the story. So you have to like zoom out and go to like a coffee shop, and the guy's like, "Hey, look at Spider-Man," blah, blah, blah. And then, oh, he got into a car and he took his mask off. Oh my God. Like, you have to do that for that to be an issue that's real. If it's not, then it's just, yeah, okay, no one really cares. No one saw it. Whatever. It's very, very situational, and I don't know the context of that scene, so I can't say, but it could go either way. And for him to say, no, it's not a nitpick, it's like, well, it could be. Anyway.
Harder to follow and or be connected with. And you shouldn't parade things like this around as just okay just because it just doesn't personally bother you, because that doesn't help any creator improve their work at all in the future or even during the creative process. You can say whatever it doesn't bother you, but you should at least acknowledge it's an...
Yeah, but we're talking about random public people that are, I don't know, reporters chasing a scene. Oh, look at Spider-Man, let's follow him around the city and watch him get into a car, and then follow the car somehow, and do all, like, take a picture of some guy in a car. Like,
I'd love for someone to explain to a director of like, the car is not dark enough. I
mean, also they do kind of mitigate that by the fact that he is wearing a different costume.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways around this, but you have to understand what's happening outside the scene, and this is kind of like a stage thing, but because we're in a movie, you're thinking in terms of a literal city, not like you're watching a stage production. So if you have a literal city, what are people doing in the city? How many people are there? Is it busy? Is it not busy? Is there traffic? Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I have to watch the movie for me to get this feeling of, well, aren't people paying attention? Wouldn't someone be tracking with their GoPro? Isn't there a guy with the on tourism, and he's got like he's taking pictures everywhere, and he's just like, oh, Spider-Man, wow, look, and he's just going crazy with the 2 shutter speed a second. Like, I don't know, maybe, but you have to show that, and then you can make the argument that, oh, how about the guy in the park with the camera who's taking pictures of Spider-Man, or the girl on her bike and she's chasing the car. Like, yeah, you could make the statement. You can't just say generic random people outside have cameras, therefore this is a dumb idea. Yeah, maybe.
Error that can be made. And when we parade around these things as good writing, it contributes to slop being created.
Is he still referring to this situation? I don't think it's good or bad writing. It's just the scenario of Peter transitioning to another scene, or the story keeping going. So,
well, especially since of film, and you have this a current issue with movies where like the superhero has to have his mask off because we paid for the actor's face.
I guess, but it calls into question not just like things like situational awareness and profiling. Like, you have to have the profile character zoom in, pay for the face, whatever. It's like, okay, are we telling the story about the superhero? Or are we telling a story about the environment? What are you doing? So that's what I mean by focus. Focus the narrative, like a stage play. Who cares about all the random people out in the world? And then deal with it. We saw that, was it the first or second Maguire Spider-Man, where his mask comes off and everyone's like, we didn't see it. We don't know who you are. Here's your mask back.
Spider-Man 2, the train scene.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2, yeah.
That's where it's forced. Everyone knows him. Oh, he's right there, but they're like, we don't care. You're Spider-Man. Do your job. We thank you. And that was it. That was all you needed for that. Oh, it's a plot hole. Like, no. Everyone addressed it. So.
And also that was also established the point of like, yeah, there's a lot of shitheads in New York, but there's a lot of, in that universe, there's a lot of good people in the city too.
Right.
That was the whole point of taking the mask off there.
And if it was such a big deal, he would have argued, well, what if we had like a fangirl and she's taking a picture and chasing the car and going, wow, it's Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. And then later you see on TikTok, it's this picture of whatever. And then, then that would be part of the story. But it's not a big deal. Maybe Spider-Man was having a lapse of awareness. I don't know, but it's not part of the narrative.
At least in Raimi Spider-Man 2, that was a point being made by the story in that one case.
Right.
In Far From Home, it was just they just set it aside, whatever.
Right.
Right.
I don't know. This is kind of. I have to again. I have to watch the scene, but I don't think it's that big a deal to consider it not a nitpick.
Just because you have a story with consistent characters, consistent world building, that it automatically makes something a good movie. Because there are a lot of other factors like how good of the writing of the characters, are they shallow in one note, or are they three-dimensional characters that are...
Well, that just means that you have a non-well-rounded character, or just a flat character. That doesn't make the rest of the story bad. It's just that the main characters or one character is not as interesting as the rest. If everything's consistent, then you should have no problem with the writing. You know how hard it is to get a consistent narrative? Now, you could argue, well, the writer sucks, so it's consistently bad. It's like, well, no, that's not good writing then. A good story has all the T's T'd and all the I's dotted and all the J's dotted and all the other grammar and issue thought out. All the situational awareness reasonably focused in a certain area, like the plot and why it's happening. That's it. You have one plot line, and off it goes with one character. That will make a good story. And if you understand the character and what they're doing, why they're reacting the way they're doing, you explain that or you show that, then that's a good story. You're good. That's it.
well written and interesting, really, among other factors. Visuals and music. And now that I've laid out my problem with one side of the aisle, what about the other side of the aisle? The people who bash things that are very good and bash them for very poor reasons. And that circles us back to another big reason why I make response videos in the first place. It's to defend things that I think are genuinely well made from bad criticism that could directly impact how creators think people view their creation. And it may cause the creators to cause unnecessary change that never needed to be made.
No, I can't see that happening. I cannot see a big budget film or a video game, people listening to a bunch of like one guy like this gentleman or whoever making a bunch of critical comments and then going, "Oh, we got to change everything. We got to change our next product. We got to go back and add DLC to change mechanics or whatever." That's
not the point.
It's not like a Sonic the Hedgehog element scenario.
Star Wars.
Yeah, it's almost like money plays into this. Rather than,
but counterpoint. Star Wars Episode 2, Jar Jar had most of his scenes cut from the script of Episode 2.
Really?
Yeah. The hate for Jar Jar was so severe. Lucas had to minimize the character's influence.
That's fine, but that's kind of audience reaction to the first film and saying, "Oh, they don't like this, let's do this," as opposed to this character or this plot point or this logic consistency or lack thereof.
It's still something people criticized the movie for that George took to heart and changed the whole project around.
I still believe if he had gone the Darth Jar Jar route, everybody would have come around.
I think if he had more people criticizing before he actually made anything, I mean, he would have been a lot better off. But once he started making those first three films, you're like, oh dear, this is not going to end well. The first one was pretty bad. Anyway.
Can think of is Insomniac's Spider-Man games as copaganda, or that cops are too involved with Spider-Man or in the world. And this directly impacted Spider-Man 2 because the cops are almost nowhere to be found in the open world, or really in the story in general, which makes the world kind of feel less alive now in that area. I don't know if enough people realize this, but...
Yeah, but was that actually people's interference, or was that because of Insomniac believing in this idea of like BLM and anti-cop?
I could imagine that the craptivists were very vocal.
Well, how would that work within the game, though? Like, can you beat up cops? Probably not.
No, like in Spider-Man 2, there's like barely any cops. Even Yuri, who was a cop, she stops being a cop, and she's now just a vigilante.
Yeah, so there's no game mechanic for cops. Like, you can't attack people when cops are around or anything like that.
You can beat up cops in the 2018 game.
All right.
Wait,
Yeah. In the opening, there's a bunch of corrupt cops who try to kill Spider-Man.
Oh,
Yeah,
right, yeah.
but that's Kingpin paying them off.
They are still cops at the time. So
What would make sense is Spider-Man delivering webbed up criminals to the cops.
the
Yes,
game.
which has
the
been
game
a thing in the
that
comics since the
portrays-
beginning.
So the game that portrays cops as as having good people in their ranks is the one that has you beat up corrupt cops. That's the only one that has you beat up cops.
Yeah, sure. The one
Whereas-
time.
Whereas this one, the one that basically it implies that cops aren't even human, because otherwise that would be propaganda.
Well, it comes down to game design, and if you don't have like things preventing the player from doing something, like it sounds like this game, you could just go crazy in the city. You could just fly around and beat stuff up and blow stuff up, and no one cares. So, cops or having like
Usually bad guys.
having like destroyable objects would kind of ruin that. That would like property damage, or cops would chase you. Like, how would they catch you?
Well, you could web up anything like mailboxes, like small shit, but nothing major.
Yeah, but there's no like pedestrians you
cross
could like
the-
beat up or anything like that.
No, you can't. You can't attack.
Yeah.
You can't attack.
So there's
normal
no what's called negative reinforcement. There's no like zones you can't go into or objects you can't interact with. Everything's just blowing up. Like you can just fly around the city and just attack anything. But it's all villains. It's all bad guys, right?
You can only attack generally people who are causing trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no need for cops as opposed to them just being in the background as like a citizen, just like scared and running away.
Yeah, but it's this weird thing where in the first game it's like cops are responding to the emergency because there's optional emergencies that will appear up, and if Spider-Man doesn't get there in time, cops are there, or the cops arrive just in time after Spider-Man finishes cleaning up the crime. It's just weird.
Yeah.
It was a nice detail, and it's weird that you get to the second game where it's like they're just not present at all.
What were you trying to second get?
It's also the fact that it's a staple of Spider-Man stories in general that Peter actively works with the cops when he's in the costume.
And the thing of Superman is, or of superheroes, is that they go in where the cops can't. They finish the job where the cops are stuck, and you could lean out of the window and say, well, if you don't like cops at all, but per definition, then you can't like superheroes either, because they stand for the same things. At least they're supposed to. You have bad cops, you have black sheep, and you have superpowered people who are bad people. Who you have black sheep, and it's the same thing. If you throw them out all at once, then yeah, then I'm sorry, you're not dealing with reality. And what a Spider-Man's world is a world where the police largely works for the people, where it's not as corrupt as it is in the real world.
All right, halfway done.
Although in Batman,
Same
Batman sometimes they're written that way, but eventually it's like Jim Gordon comes around it's like reforms everything.
Oh yeah, overall, Batman's world requires that the cops function virtuously, that the corruption is not out of hand, because Batman only functions because the police still functions, and the courts still function, and the prisons still function. Once those things break down, or any of those three things doesn't work anymore, and Arkham Asylum is questionable in that regard, that's when Batman doesn't function anymore, because Batman wants to play by the book. If Batman can't operate anymore, because these things don't work anymore, then you can't have Batman. Then you get the Punisher.
I think the worst version of any Batman story is Gotham, where you take Jim Gordon, who's basically the most uncorruptible, cop. Gotham
Okay, hold on. To clear up, you mean the show, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you take Jim Gordon, the most uncorruptible cop Gotham has ever had, and you make him willing to do any criminal acts. Just you make him the most corrupt bastard in the police. It's just pure character assassination there.
Yeah.
All right.
You can bet your ass that creators look at stuff like surrounding their projects. So the discourse we surround a project with can be detrimental to the quality of it, and it can also do the opposite.
Again, you think that critics have a lot of power and influence? Examples that make sense in this
Well,
context?
he's even saying YouTube critics. Like,
Yeah,
do they really think they're listening to them?
I really don't. Unless there's a gigantic outcry, like weird shit, like with the ending of Mass Effect 3 with the cupcakes and all these other petitions and people getting screamed about on social media. It's like no one really cares. So one guy on YouTube.
Bioware did listen to people, and they came out with the extended edition, but that still didn't fix anything.
Yeah, they listened, but they didn't do anything about it. They just doubled down on everything. It's like, what do you want?
Just added more. It just added more shit to the shit pile that was already there.
Yeah, here's some background crap that people were at. Oh, I want to say goodbye to my Caden. Like, what? No one cared. Why would you listen to that retard? Thanks for having these goodbye scenes that make even bigger plot holes into that run for the beam scenario. Yeah, so
I say those are plants.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, people listen. They do, but they listen to the wrong critics. Not
No. I believe those are sock puppets. They're
yeah.
planted there as an excuse for the devs to make crap content because they don't know what else to do. So they write a shitty thing themselves to say that somebody said they wanted this crap thing we made because we don't know how to do anything good.
You're talking about the journalist, right?
Anyone really? I don't know.
It can be the journalist, but I'd say those things can be put up by devs themselves. A sock puppet is an account you create that is not your own, that you make look like it's somebody else, but it's actually saying what you want to say.
Okay.
Like a Muppet.
Which is why I think response videos are a good thing. It can really point out the stupidity of the logic surrounding a lot of discourse, and people's standards for things. But one final
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the creator of the media. You're talking about some other critic, and you're criticizing them. That's fine. But you're not going to change the mind of a creator.
thing I want to do in this video is something I'll call brain rot culture. Now, what exactly is brain rot culture, you may ask? Well, I think it comes down to multiple things. One, the people who just say woke, politics and my story bad. Most of these people who spew political brain rot as criticism are genuine fucking morons. You look at people like Synthetic Man, Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, Endymion, Melanie.
Oh my god. I think brain rot can be applied to the younger generation at large. It's left, right, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't associate Synthetic Man with any of these people. I don't even know who these other people are, but Endymion and Critical Drinker, like what?
Critical Drinker's brain rot. Okay.
He plays a drunk. He plays a drunk Scotsman. I think that's the whole idea. He's supposed to be. Ugh. So I don't know.
Endymion criticizes the socialist crap.
Yeah, and this girl,
which is the socialist crap propaganda is the brain rot. And now you call the people calling out the brain rot having the brain rot.
Now,
are you well?
Aside from Synthetic Man, which is very questionable, I wouldn't associate him with any of these people, so I don't know where he's going.
Yeah, like, can you define brain rot real quick before we...
Yeah.
It's just the brain rot is just so extreme that Synthetic Man can be right quite often about it. That's the only thing.
Well, that's the thing with Synthetic Man. He'll look at something which is bad, like the Spider-Man game that had all those problems with it, the God of War game. It doesn't take much to point it out. It's like, oh, there it is. Look, and he's like, oh, this is crap.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're right, it's crap. But then he just keeps
this
going.
Guy plays good by association here.
Yeah, like he'll just keep pushing it. It's like, oh, these are clearly gay men. It's like, well, maybe they are. The narrative isn't clear on that. And
you have the same opinion as that bad person. So you must be like that bad person, also a bad person.
Yeah,
that's just a cooties game.
He pushes it too far. Whereas anyone who just can look at that game and go, yeah, there's something's off with a lot of these characters and their characterization and the time you spend with them and why they talk that way and why Odin's a goddamn New Yorker and why Freya thinks she's a queen and all this nonsense. So anyway,
who is not Odin's wife?
I don't know.
Frigg is Odin's wife.
We don't know anymore.
Who doesn't even appear in that game.
Yeah.
Didn't Drinker like God of War? So is he
Yeah.
still technically brain rot? Is
That's-
God of War brain rot?
Yeah,
I don't
this
know.
I said several times that Drinker and Mauler making excuses for God of War, liking that when it is just socialist propaganda crap, the same way that Disney Star Wars is,
Yeah,
makes no sense.
They're-
What the hell happened with these people?
they're doing subjective takes on things they like for the sake of liking them, as opposed to, well, maybe this is bad in some ways. Maybe it could be improved in certain ways, or maybe it's not comparable to other things that I should have experience with, and they don't. And that's where we go, well, why are you criticizing this thing as good? Because, again, I always say, if something's good, you have to have a really good argument why it is. Because God of War games, the new ones, were nothing to talk about in terms of gameplay. There's nothing special about them.
Mm-hmm.
So-
I don't think
Walking
Drinkers
simulators.
was that game.
Sorry?
I don't
Dreadnought?
think Drinkers much of a gamer. I'm not coming from
I think he likes them. I don't know how much of a gamer he is, but if he's criticizing a game, then obviously he's played it. So anyway,
Yeah.
anyway, let's see where he's going with these brain rot critics.
But playing one game doesn't.
Probably
doesn't
have
really
seen
make you
people like
much of a
this.
gamer.
These people who make their money from just grifting politics and media.
Okay, so now they're grifters. How are they grifters, sir? What's a grift? Where's their money steal? Who are they stealing money from? Please tell me.
We went from brain rot to grifter. That's
Yes.
fucking brilliant, man.
Well, the only way you can, we
starts
said it
with
before,
so
the
much
only way you can
promise.
accuse them of grifting is by them having an inconsistent view and not calling out God of War Ragnarok, which makes you question of whether they're even capable of spotting the message
Yeah,
that
he
they mean
seems
so
to-
much about.
He seems to like the Google definition of grifter. If you guys want to look that up, I can read it to you. A grifter is a con artist, someone who swindles people out of money through fraud. Anyone on YouTube, unless they're selling you a product literally to another website, is not a grifter. They're just taking up your time for 10 minutes talking about something, okay?
Yeah, half these people are banned on the platform, so I guess the grift is really working, huh?
I don't know. This is... he went straight to buzzwords. I'm like, dude, you were doing okay with defining terms, and then you ran around plot for about 10 minutes, and now we're back on brain rot, political grifters, because I don't know. Let's find out.
We started the video with so much promise.
Well, it might explain his scatterbrain.
They don't even explain why the politics are actually made. And when they try to, it's very often terrible. These
Really? Why are politics bad in media? You don't know why? We have to explain it to you?
Because it's not politics, it's propaganda. And
That's
God
like
of War,
saying-
which they should have criticized, is just propaganda.
That's-
It literally has in its encyclopedia the criticism of Odin's financial, what was it? Financial colonialism, something like that. Completely insane
Imperialism.
writing.
Well, this is
What's
to
that,
me
Inga?
no different than saying the literal elephant in a room is not a problem. It's like it's an elephant in a room. What do you mean it's not a problem? This is silly.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was Odin's financial imperialism.
Financial imperial, great. And the dwarf woman that Mimir wrote about that he considered to be smarter than him, the god of wisdom in that game, who wrote about basically Antifa shit, where she goes around and commits arson against Odin, and Odin being played by a Jew. And then he is accused of financial imperialism. So is that game now left wing or is it right wing? I'm
It's
confused.
obviously
I don't
left-wing.
even know what they're trying to tell me now.
Is the game grifting us?
It's left wing Wisp. It's to appeal to the National Socialist German Workers' Party members.
Yeah, but that only works when you understand that National Socialism was left wing, because it was socialism, and it was race socialism, and now we get from the left we again get race socialism. They just spin the arrows around, and he wants us to to accept talking about politics, so we talk about politics, and I'm sorry, all this socialist crap is brain rot. And I don't want it in my escapism. But sadly, the socialist brain rot wants to be in every escapism because it hates escapism, because escapism means it's not in there. It's a refuge. And the whole goal is to not have a refuge for anyone, so that we always, always, always have to be subject to it, so that we just give up resisting to the Socialist Unity Party and the dear leader who knows best anyway. It's the most narcissistic, pernicious crap that could exist, and only crazy assholes, real grifters, want that. Because they all hope that they'll be the ones at the top.
All right. 14 minutes. This is going south.
Criticize shit at points just on the basis that there's something other than a white straight male protagonist. I mean, literally just look at Ghost of Tsushima 2. Most recent example, people are upset that Jin Sakai's not back. We're gonna be playing.
What about the first? What about the first game?
The first one isn't a white man.
Yeah, Jin.
What about, didn't he come up with all this consistency and logic stuff in the beginning? Where's that now?
The reason people are pissed off with War Assassin's Creed Shadows is because you're playing as someone who is supposedly a historical figure, and there's not a Japanese guy in sight. Unless, you count the people that the supposed historical figure, Yasuke, kills.
The Ghost of Yote, it's that the actress they cast for that character is an absolute raving what?
Yeah, she's running her mouth. Yeah,
not running her mouth. She's a raving communist mad person.
Yeah,
mad woman, completely insane and vicious and sadistic, completely evil. We don't have a problem with her race. We have a problem with her character. Didn't you you lefties, didn't you talk about consequence culture? That you can say anything, but that does freedom of speech, but not freedom of consequence? Well, how about we don't want an absolutely evil, sadistic, racist piece of shit to be the head character of a video game? And you know how we can solve that? By just not buying it. Because we're already repulsed. We don't need to force ourselves not to buy it. We can just say, ugh, and leave it.
That's the thing. He's not explaining what the problems that people have. It's like was Ghost of Yote or whatever. It's a pattern. Everyone recognizes the pattern.
Yeah, he's now doing the opposite of what he described in the beginning, where, well, you need to have an actual good reason to dislike a thing. But he doesn't give the reasons why people dislike these things. He just invents reasons. This comes back to the conflation in the beginning, where he conflated not liking something versus thinking something is badly written, which are two different things. And here maybe he is projecting a similar fallacy.
It is. It's one-sided. He's not looking at. Because I thought this was the problem with media discourse. What is the discourse?
Oh, I'm sure he knows about the arguments, the real arguments. He just leaves them out. He omits them. Because the problem with these shills for the propaganda garbage is that they can only win an argument by omitting the facts, omitting reality. And you have the same thing with narcissists and psychopaths gaslighting you in court. They have to deny the existence of the evidence because the evidence is damning against them.
My personal view with media discourse, the main problem for me is there seems to be a culture of toxic positivity, and whenever people do criticize something, minorities are almost always used as human shields for bad products.
Oh yeah, this is toxic positivity is also something that you always see in narcissistic abuse, because you have to like everything that the narcissist likes and does, including the abuse towards you. How are you so ungrateful for everything I've done to you? What, you mean the horrible things, all the horrible things you did? I'm not grateful for them. I honestly quite dislike them. Or how dare you?
All right. Let's continue.
Oh, it's gonna be bad. Granted, there are people who say Agent Sky story, but there are also people who are just saying, no, it's a new protagonist, woman, bad, da 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 da.
So I have to.
Citation, please. And I'm not referring to the fucking normies on screen.
A girl?
I do not care! It has been 7 months since your last shower. Get off of the game, you stink!
When having
What?
That was an ad hominem.
What happened there?
There was that was Asmongold. I have not seen the original clip, but we have already seen other issues with that. So I can imagine that other criticisms have been made. I have a video not in my pipeline but in the watch list that where a Japanese man is meticulously tearing apart all the errors of that game. And apparently there is also a Chinese instrument there where they make it about Japanese, when it's supposed to be about Japanese culture, similar to Assassin's Creed Shadows, having the rice and the cherry trees in bloom, which doesn't make sense. They bloom in different seasons, and which is also similar to the atrocious woke remake of Shogun, where they have a stick of time, which is also an episode title, which is not a Japanese concept at all. It's something from Chinese romance novels. And you have all these conflations there. These people don't give a shit. And it's the left that always complains about cultural appropriation, not being accurate in everything. Yet when they do anything, they don't give a shit about accuracy and authenticity. And mind you, it was the left that complained about Ghost of Tsushima being cultural appropriation because a non-Japanese studio made that game while the Japanese loved it. And Ghost of Yotei, now the left now defends, because I guess they have wokeified the company or something, with that crazy actress for the motion capture for the main character, and now people don't have a negative preconception of Ghosts of Yotei, but the left defends that now, because the left doesn't actually care whether you do alleged cultural appropriation or not, whether you are an outsider doing something about another culture, whether you do women protagonists or not. They don't care about any of that for real. They care about whether their propaganda is in it and whether they have control of the product as a part of their political arm, and or not. When they don't, then it's bad. You shouldn't buy it. You shouldn't support it. You should hate it. When it is theirs, when they have control over it, you should buy it. You should love it. You should only say good things about it. That's all it is.
All right.
That's the consistency, because there is consistency to that ideology and these activists. It's just not the thing you would assume.
All right. 14 minutes and a half. This is going downhill a lot faster than I thought.
You like the guy?
Well,
Not anymore.
At the beginning, he had a strong opening.
he started off very well, and then he just sort of meandered with jumping topics. Doing okay, but still jumping topics, so it's kind of hard to follow. And then he got into, I don't like these guys. And like, okay, fair. Why? And then it's like...
He waded through the swamp of cognitive dissonance to end in the bog of contradiction.
All right. Let's go for another 2 minutes, see how far he does.
a new person, whether it be man, woman, fucking race, gender, I don't give a fuck what it is, doesn't make anything inherently bad. They could make a phenomenal story out of this game. They also get mad if like a woman in a game or movie doesn't look like prime beat your meat material.
Her jawbone has been completely shaved off, and she just looks...
What are you talking about? Oh, this is
That's
Synthetic
what the
Man.
actual- that's
Synthetic
what the
Man
actual-
doesn't like Asian women,
Oh.
apparently.
Really? Korean
Yeah,
girls?
yeah, he's Yeah, he's spoken out against miscegenation.
What?
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know that word.
Race mixing.
Really?
Oh, but these are pure Asians. What's the problem?
Yeah,
He doesn't-
specifically miscegenation when it comes to whites.
Really?
Wait. He doesn't like race mixing.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, because he Synthetic Man is a full-on ethno-nationalist racist.
I don't even want to know.
Oh God.
The guy really has issues, but
Yeah,
that doesn't mean he
might
can't
say
point
that.
out the
Yes.
actual flaws of the other socialists. But I don't understand why he would have problems looking. So that means he has problems looking at other races. Period. That's crazy.
Very narrow view of beauty, but that's fine. You could be a moron. I don't care. You know, ignorant, stupid.
I would rather have questions about that scary navel
think
of doom that is an all-consuming void that is way too big and
All right. All right.
probably end the universe.
Let's keep going.
I know everyone focuses on her body because she does have a widely appealing body type that basically any man with any testosterone left in their body would be attracted to. But her body also isn't very exaggerated. As you probably know, it was scanned off of a real woman, and so she just looks like a fit, skinny woman. Average size breasts, average size ass, though maybe above average for a Korean woman, let's be honest. I think the only reason people thought she had a big ass.
Have you met Korean women, Mr. What's his name? What are we talking to? I can't remember his guy's name.
It's Synthetic Man saying isn't it Synthetic Man saying this stuff right now?
Yeah, but
pulling
Colin is the
clips
one
from
saying,
Synthetic
wait
Man.
a second, did you just categorize Korean women? Yeah, he could do that. There's nothing wrong with that.
The breast size is a bit above average for Asians.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
As are the
All their
batons.
sizes are one smaller. If you buy any clothes from Asia, they will be one size smaller than you're familiar with the S, M, L, XL labels.
That may be, but I've noticed a pattern with women of Korean ancestry where they tend to be bustier than most other East Asian women.
The thing is that might be due to after the war, South Korea having sent their people, a lot of their people to Germany to study. Some studying cattle and milk production, because they wanted to start that over there. This is how Taekwondo came to Germany, which Taekwondo is quite big in Germany. Due to that, and the teacher of my, let's say, my Mr. Miyagi or ex-Mr. Miyagi, he was, who also trained a world champion. He was sent here to study exactly that. So when he went back to South Korea, he had all the knowledge of having studied German milk production stuff. And the thing is, if you consume more milk, that helps with certain growth factors. And that might have added some cup sizes to the Koreans by now. I don't know. But it would make sense. Japanese, are you listening?
Anyway, Synthetic Man is totally fine in describing his idea of what Korean girls are. He could be right. He could be wrong. It doesn't really matter. It's fine. It's completely, I think this is too big, too small, yada, yada, yada. It's fine. Anyway, well, let's continue.
She has some of the worst pelvic tilt I have ever seen. Just look at a side profile of this character. You can never unsee this.
That looks...
Her main problem is that she has a bit of posture damage with her lower spine.
It looks like she's on high heels and she's walking down a runway. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a problem, though.
horrors that I've been exposed to on the internet since I was a teenager, this really just doesn't activate the neurons that much for me.
Yeah, you might touch the finish line, but you've never touched a woman. You're right. I haven't.
What the fuck?
I'm tired of you stinking up the whole house.
Or
What the?
These cuts and insults are really low.
What was that from? That was a Sonic film?
It's an edit. It's an edit.
Looks like Sonic Riders.
It's an edit of a cutscene from Sonic Riders. I'm just like, what the fuck? I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Let me just say, this is what actual brain rot looks like when you're just interjecting weird clips just to insult your opponents. Apparently,
Yeah, it doesn't even need the skippity. That will just be the cherry on top of the brain rot.
Yeah, to start attacking a person for his descriptions of women and what he prefers is totally silly. This is pure subjectivity. He can like and dislike whatever he wants from a woman's shape and size and gait. It makes no difference. It doesn't change anyone's mind. It's his preferences.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo.
Everybody does this. So
women in games can look average. I find the females in Resident Evil to be average to even a little bit below. That's completely fine. They're still dear to the fan base, because they have characters that work. What the problem is, I can't remember all of those. I'm not a fan of the series.
In classic Resident Evil, not remake.
I'm not following that series too much because I'm not really interested in it, because I don't follow horror games all that much to begin with. Anyway, what I wanted to say is, the problem of people, and that's not just men, that's not just the male audience, that's women as well. Average is fine. They don't need to look super hot. Super hot can be a seller, of course. But the problem that people have is with deliberately ugly ones. The man jaw, the ugly faces, the basically non-body that the Veilguard character editor also provides. It provides the non-female body that is just not attractive to anyone, but the self-insert narcissist who set the limits.
Well, also, don't they take like actual, models and make them uglier for their games, like Star Wars Outlaws?
Oh yeah, there was Star Wars Outlaws. That was in The Last of Us. That was in the Mary Jane in the Spider-Man game.
Andromeda, yeah, it's very very bad. The thing is, this is a thing that we could do 20 years ago with mocap, and it was perfect. The only issue is we had to have high res and low res for the Z buffer distance, because at the time polygon count was still an issue. It's still an issue today, obviously, but now we can get away with a lot more memory. So to scan, like we can take in all kinds of characters who played in Mass Effect. Yvonne Strahovski is like beautiful woman, but even then it's like it doesn't quite translate well to Miranda Lawson. You can tell there's some flaws with her face and her nose and her teeth, and it's like that's fine. That's good to have flaws, but we can make women just picture perfect pretty much nowadays in the Unreal Engine. So to do that is either you are trying to optimize a game for no reason and you're using it on a part of the story, or the narrative rather, where a face is very important and there's no reason to change the face. There's like very little reason to do so. So I don't know why they do it that way. I don't know what the purpose is. Maybe it's too...
Well, the feminists always complained about the female characters being too eye candy and being too pretty, usually because they're jealous. And the companies, as they walkified, as they listened to the scrap, followed. We have now this incidents where the Dragon Quest developers even complain about the West, the West in quotation marks, demanding that they change everything to this body type A and B nonsense from man and woman.
Yeah, no, that's a whole other issue. With Toriyama,
and all the other censorship.
Yeah, no, people think Final Fantasy is the height of RPGs in Japan. It's the other way around. It's Dragon Quest. So they're not going to change just because the West think otherwise.
But they did.
The whole idea with stylizing a character has always been an argument. You want realism? Do you want stylized versions? And back in the day, stylized was the only thing you could really do, because you couldn't have the polys, you couldn't have the renderers, you didn't have the shaders to make it look right with the lighting effects. We had light maps and a bunch of other bump maps to make it look real. Now we can get real-time lighting, so there's no excuse to do it unless performance is an issue, which it always is. So to stylize something a certain way is fine. So every artist has a certain technique, certain shape of nose, certain shape of eyes, length of arms, that sort of thing. And you can do that in 3D, no problem. The question is, why would you take something which is already, in the Spider-Man games, for example, standard, like you're just taking people, you're not stretching them, you're not making them like cartoon characters from Disney, you're just taking people, you're doing hyper-realism, and you're making them ugly. And I don't understand that. There's no reason for an artist to go, it looks so good, let's make it look bad now. It doesn't process in an artist's mind to do that unless someone's paying them and say, make it look bad. So, I don't know. Couldn't tell you. All right.
If a property criticizer makes fun of right-wing politics, and it's genuinely the most brain-rot content and commentary, there are ways that politics can be poorly implemented into stories, and it can detract from stories, making them worse. But when you're inherently calling shit bad or poorly criticizing stuff just because it has politics in it that you disagree with, or just because it has a minority group or a woman in it, you need to take a fucking shower.
Okay. I think we've lost all expectations of this guy to argue in good faith.
Let's not use that statement. Let's use the fact that he dislikes it when people bring up the politics thing, and we don't know why, and we want to find out, because when we see it, it's not that we want to see it. It just happens to be there. We're like, what is this doing in this story? Why is it there?
He's the one bringing up politics here.
Yeah.
Why is it increasing?
Why do we have all these games now that Sweet Baby has been revealed to be a part of, that have ruined or caused this influence? And that's just one influence. There's probably others outside of a consulting company. Who knows what happened to BioWare since they got taken over by EA back in 2007 or 8 or whatever. Can we imagine what creative direction Mass Effect 2 and 3 would have taken if they had their own creative unique? Not to say that EA is like influencing the creatives, but I think the money infusion of any company can be good or bad. And depending on Canadian sentiment, which is already liberal-minded, you could have a lot of crazy artists come by, or directors, and that has happened with, as we're seeing with the Veilguard. How many hands have gone in charge of that captain's chair for the project have shifted? So, and then we're learning that the core of the game was changed in 2021, which was a live service model, and then it went to a singular RPG model, and now it's an action adventure something. I don't even know what it is anymore. So, yeah, the game is changed, the people have changed, the art has changed, the dialogue, characters, the gameplay, everything has changed since 2021, and that's not to explain what happened 9 years ago when the project started with Mike Gamble, and I think Gator was already gone by then, and all the other Mass Effect guys left, Hudson left, at least 3 other major programmers left to start their own stuff. And then we have, was it John Epler in charge? Put John Epler in charge. Good Lord. That guy's a dyed-in-the-wool lefty. There's a lot of problems with that. And to just say it doesn't exist is just to put your head in the sand.
Yeah, the issue I'm having right now with what he's doing is he's doing the exact thing that I have a problem with when it comes to media discourse. Not the toxic positivity part, the part about using minorities as human shields. He's doing it. In
a way, yeah. What's wrong with having this or that element? It's like it's political. No, it's not. Well, look at it. Why would you go to politicalization? It's like why else is it there? It has no reason to be.
Why would they feel the need to change it or add it? And
why do we need top scars in Dragon Age: The Veilguard. What the hell does that have to do with anything? Or heterochromia. Oh, it's cool. You could change the different color of your other eyeball. It's like, why would you need to do that? It's role playing. No, it's not.
I mean, I've actually seen heterochromia in a lot of games, and
yeah,
it's not really something that's highlighted. It's never been highlighted.
It's to me, it's like
it's
going
just
on.
There.
Yeah, it's like going on fanfic.net and reading any pile of crap, and you have some weird girly powered girl that has a streak through her hair and a magical horse, and she can fly and read minds and all this other bullshit. And you're like, okay, yeah, if you're a writer who doesn't know what they're doing, and a creator is like, let's put multiple hair colors, let's put multiple eye colors, let's give them multiple tattoos, let's give them multiple skin diseases. Like, why? What is this for?
But is she hot?
They're not really doing anything special by having heterochromia in
to me, it's highly annoying because when I see it, I saw it from like, I'm trying to remember the anime I originally saw it in the 90s. It just annoyed the shit out of me. But any magical girl anime, anything with dragons, anything with some sort of vampire, this all traces back to fantasy fanfic crap, where they have the same tropes over and over again, and they keep reusing them. These hack writers who don't know how to do anything original, and they gotta have cosmetically different looking everything. It's like, why? Like this is the problem Japan has in general with not just anime, but I think, not just Japan. I've met a lot of weird Asian women who have the strangest haircuts. Not to say you can't have strange haircuts, but they make you question, like, are you punk? Are you part of some movement? Did you have a style back home that never made it to Canada and you just came off the boat today? Like there's some stuff that doesn't make any sense. And I know that's me being ignorant, but when I was doing searching for, like, imagine getting a normal short Asian haircut and then you have like these two little strands of hair, like the back of your neck. And they look like you have like pigtails, but there's nothing on top, right? It's just from the back, the bottom part of your neck, and this woman decides to color that. And it's the weirdest looking thing, and I'm like, what the hell is, like, what do you even call that? It's not a pigtail or pigtails. It's not a ponytail. And it's just bizarre. Like, is it a cultural thing? I don't think so. Is it a fashion thing? It has to be. I don't know.
You have to take into account that Asian hair is thinner but more numerous, so they can do more or different experiments with their hair. That's why many Asian haircuts work with Asians, but look absolutely ridiculous and silly with Europeans.
Well, I had my uncle, the barber, passed away a few years ago, but he owned a barber shop and it was unisex. And when I was a kid, I would talk to the female because doing women's hair and men's hair are very different. And they would explain like the perms and how it's done and the dyes and how it's done and why black women's hair is so different and what you have to do to treat it. And there's all kinds of different products to use.
Oh yeah, I bet that as well.
Yeah, and I was learning all about women because they spend a lot of time getting their hair done for many reasons. But I've never encountered some of those styles, which I have to assume are recent, so the past 20, 30 years maybe, that we get these weird outfits, weird, like gal girls. I didn't even know that was a thing until I read manga in Japan. Asian women looking like black women, or trying to look like black women, very sexualized.
Is that more extreme versions of the Guru? Garo?
Essentially it is. It is its own version,
Guru?
but it's a watered down version. I wouldn't say it's again Guru girl. No, it's not the same, but it's like a little weaker version.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. So, but then you learn. You're like, okay, great. And then there's a manga about it, and there's an anime about it. It's like, that's cool. But it's not about that. And for people to do that in reality is like, okay, you're a 30-something-year-old woman. I don't think that works for you. I don't think that's a good look.
We've already learned that women don't necessarily know anything about fashion or what men find attractive.
Oh yeah, that's another story entirely. But yeah, anyway, I'm done ranting about fashion. I'm done ranting about hairstyles and.
There was one while I was away and listening. There's one thing I would say about the RPGs with character editors, because there's a strange thing that probably presents a conundrum that the left just ignores and waltzes over, because they're all about, oh, but we have to change all of these characters so that all the weird people can see themselves in the game, which they don't need to, because
representation.
Exactly, because the only people who need that are narcissists, who can only identify with what is exactly like them because they have no empathy. And the problem with that is occurring here is that, well, if you don't want to play, rather, if you want to play some magical character that is not like you, why would you need those other characters on the screen to be like you? Because that's what you can make with these character editors. That's what they're really there for. They're not there to make you yourself. They're there to give you the options to not be yourself. And but if you do make yourself in that character editor, then why do you need those other characters to be like you? Because you already have yourself. So the whole thing, the whole representation thing, doesn't work with these types of RPGs in the first place. There's something more, but it's late.
All right.
This is like the left doesn't make sense. They just waltz over everything. They make excuses. It's not even about the representation thing. That itself is only yet another tool to destroy.
Anyway, let us continue.
Any less showerless. I've seen people genuinely take points off a piece of media just off the basis.
I think all cops are bad is valid, and also it's not worth putting a lot of energy into kids' cartoons with cops. I don't like Spider-Verse very much anymore, but I've seen worse propaganda from other films. At the end of it all, it's really not worth arguing with a million people on Elon Musk's health. Okay. Blah, 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 blah.
Wait, what does this have to do with anything?
I don't know.
Okay.
I tried to get into it. I was like, I can't get that far.
Who cares? Yeah.
Cops in a positive light. People that genuinely are terrible people inherently. So therefore, any media that portrays a cop as a good person is somehow bad now. And it's ironic that a lot of radical left-wing people throw around the word bigot to the point where that word literally has no meaning anymore. Yet you literally see them using racism.
I think he's trying to be the neutral
Centrist.
brain rot.
Okay, is he saying that he's against all cops are bad?
Yes.
He's against the argument that the left are using that all cops are bad is not a big deal because I believe in it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's an enlightened centrist who is wrong on everything.
I hate everyone. Everyone's wrong.
I'm always right. Yeah, that's a great
He's just a contrarian.
Maybe. That's a safe route to take. Everything's wrong. Everything's bad. Everything's crap. Like, okay.
Okay, be eternally 16.
Well, here's the kicker. Is he gonna make fun of those people?
That or
Well, he's
he's
doing
a
it right now.
leftist.
Yeah.
Where's the list of people that he doesn't like on the left side?
Random Twitter users. That's about it.
Yeah, okay.
Which is not
Yeah,
hard.
I think it's just a leftist who tries to, straddle some of the middle ground to go, look at me, I'm not a leftist. Look at me, I'm a centrist.
It might be because the left is starting at large, is starting to go into some damage control mode, where they're slowly, superficially abandoning the woke stuff. They're still continuing to do it below the surface. That's not going to go away. Don't think this is the mistake that Nerdrotic and Demion and other people like them are making. They believe we're winning the culture war. No, we are not. You don't know how the culture war actually operates, how it works. It goes into phases of rampant activity where it pushes forward, and then when it notices it has pushed enough, and if it would push further, it would get everything backpedaled from the violent reaction, they stop and they go underground and they let it seep and they keep everything in place, but they're not pushing for new stuff. And that's when you mistakenly think that the culture war has been won by you sitting in your chair. What's really happening now is the phase where everything remains in place. There's still going to be the stuff happening, and the children that are growing up now in the next 10, 20 years will be exposed to this stuff, and they will think this is normal. And that is how the new normal comes to be. And once those 10, 20 years are over, the socialists will push for the next insane stuff for 5 to 10 years. And then the kids who grow up with this stuff and thinking that the top surgery scars are just normal things, they will then eventually go, wait, you're doing way too crazy stuff. And then they will stop again. And this is how they do it. This is how they've been pushing. They did this through the hippie times, the feminist uprising times, the gay liberation times, and now we have the woke times. This is what they do. And the next thing will be even crazier than what we had now.
It's been pointed out that DEI it's not disappearing, it's just being rebranded as just D and I. And does this thing
they're
called...
different versions. Bridge is another one.
And yeah, I was just about to say, there's this thing called Bridge.
Yeah, and they're just not in the public light anymore. That's the difference. So that you don't notice that it keeps pushing. And it always comes from the same rich industrialist assholes, because socialists are not your poor downtrodden people. That's just the useful idiots. Socialists are very rich people with crazy ideas, often eugenicists, and sometimes they are the downtrodden, but they want to be part of the rich assholes, of the rich socialists, and move up through their narcissistic psychopathic cunning. That's all.
Anyway, let's keep going.
Cops here on the basis that some cops are corrupt, so that means that all cops are bad now. You also have these people that will just say a piece of media is bad, or that you're a bad person just because you consumed and or enjoyed a piece of media if it was made by someone who might have done a bad thing, as if separating the art from the artist is somehow impossible to do. I don't care if Lil Uzi shot up a school, I'm gonna listen to every single one of his albums. And I know there's people that will look at this as fence sitting, quote unquote, but I don't give a fuck. That fence will be firmly planted up my ass because the radicals on both sides are the reason climate change is steadily rising. These people are destroying our atmosphere with their fucking smell. The second part of the brain rot crowd is people who think comic book media or comedy movies, for example, aren't real movies, quote unquote. Like this kind of media is just turn your brain off.
It mostly is.
Comedy
movies?
movies?
Is right about that.
Did you say comedy movies?
He equates comic book movie with comedy.
What? Whatever.
Well,
You can rewind if you want.
No.
If he's talking about the MCU, I mean, most of them are.
There are comedic elements in them, and thanks to Taika Waititi, way too much.
Yeah.
That man is not funny. Not on that. As we say, the amount makes the poison.
Going Deadpool and Wolverine, I had a full understanding that this movie was going to be funny, action-packed, and bringing back OG characters that we know and love. At no point in time did I go into this movie thinking that I was going to see the greatest storyline that Marvel's ever created. Just because something's in the same category, for example, the superhero category, does not mean it's in the same genre. For example...
What?
It's not in the superhero genre? Is that what...
Is he referring to Logan, maybe? That because they focused on the drama of the character as opposed to their superpowers and all that jazz? I can see that.
The movies behind him like buddy cop movies, but they're not cops.
Yeah, you can have good writing in a certain genre when it's not expected to be. That's true. That can happen.
Street movies based in the hood, but one is clearly a comedy, while the other one, you might cry watching this movie. And why someone would expect to see the most amazing story in a comedy, which never happens or rarely happens, I don't know why you would expect that.
Superhero fans, they are superhero fans, not exactly fans of stories. Superhero.
What?
That depends.
Excuse you?
Who's talking right now?
If you like a story...
It's on a stage at a convention or something.
Yeah, if you like superheroes because, I don't know, Batman's cool, he's cool for a bunch of narrative reasons, for a bunch of plot reasons, for a bunch of characterized historical reasons. It boils down to storytelling, whether you're aware of it or not. That's why there's lots of bad versions of Batman, or video game versions of Batman, or comic versions of Batman, etc. So
the reason I read Spawn is because the character is interesting in the concept, the world is interesting, and there are interesting stories written in that. Some fall flat, some are not that great, but overall, I do like the creativity in it. That's about the writing. The hero, it's just that these heroes have superpowers.
They're icons. These people don't look at them and appreciate them just as good characters. They idolize them unironically. This has many effects, one of which being...
Wait. Appreciate as good characters? They instead idolize them. Shouldn't you idolize a good character in some way? Or are you meaning they're uncriticizable things?
There's nothing wrong with role models. There's nothing wrong with looking at something and saying, I want to become that. And men do that all the time in their heads whenever they watch a Batman film or a Superman film. It's like, wow, it's Superman. He can save people. He's so strong. He's so fast. He's so smart.
The thing with superheroes is that they're supposed to be role models. So they're supposed to be idolized.
We're supposed to admire what they can do and why they do it.
And this is a large part of the disingenuous discord about the first Joker movie, where the left accuses the people who defend the movie or who like the movie as idolizing the Joker character. Instead of them, what they really do is they empathize with him. They feel sorry for him. They understand him. While the left, which is mainly comprised of narcissists, can only project and therefore assume that, well, if they like this movie, that means they identify with the Joker, because the left can only identify with things. So they must want to be like the Joker. So they must want to shoot things up at random. That's the fallacy. And so they make the false accusation that people who like the first Joker movie idolize the character, which subsequently is now the possibility as to why he's being killed in the second. To make up for that. Basically like the artist who made Pepper the Frog then decided to kill Pepper the Frog in the deranged belief that would end people using Pepper the Frog for memes.
Oh,
They're
really?
very strange people.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
These people are completely deranged and stupid.
Alrighty, let's continue.
Primarily only consume superhero media, which is why people actually sat down and watched What If. But then, just imagine them saying the word pretentious. Take me, growing up and walking away from superhero fanboy syndrome, and I'm the asshole for not wanting to watch the most mediocre movie you've ever seen. Like, guys, am I the asshole for wanting to watch a film with an actual artistic vision? I think it's pretty pretentious to only watch cape shit and start throwing around the word greatness. You cucks.
I deliver a message. Shut it.
Most people with a functioning brain don't need this explained to them, but for those who don't have the luxury of a functioning brain, no, just because a story features a comic book character shit in it, or comedy, that doesn't make the story inherently lose good writing as an option. It doesn't make it any less artful than another project. The Lego Batman movie is both a comic book movie and a comedy movie, and the movie has fantastic writing, which I already made a video on, which you should all watch. And just because some stories don't really have much comedy in them and have a more serious, serious and or grounded tone throughout, that doesn't mean it's inherently better than a story with comedy and fantastical elements. Now, I'm not saying there's no element of truth in, like, you know, certain projects going for certain things. I'm not gonna watch a show like The Amazing World of Gumball and expect to and criticize it for not having the same level of writing as, like, fucking Whiplash. Now, stuff...
Gumball is pretty good writing. What the hell are you talking about?
Writing.
Yeah.
Well, what is... Sorry, you were saying? My bad.
Is he comparing like apples and oranges? Obviously different media, but it's like, why would you?
Yeah,
why
that's
would you
what
do
it
that?
feels like.
Yeah. What's the point?
I don't.
A general service announcement. If you use clips from other people to interject into your videos, put a big splash text over it that indicates this is that other person talking, because I'm losing track. Not part because it's late, part because he's switching too often.
Yeah, no, it's really annoying because
I'm losing track of what is his opinion and what are others and whether he's for or against them.
I'm still
I
yet to understand what the problem with modern media discourse is.
And people don't like what he likes.
You give certain passes. The Harley Quinn show, for example. This show does not have good writing, at least for a good amount of it. But I watch this show because it makes me laugh. Rick and Morty, again, another good example, but I do think that show does have good writing in parts of it. But like episodic shows like this, that aren't trying to tell some grand story or a massive piece of a story, I do give passes to things like this, because they excel at what they're going for. If it's trying to be a funny, comedic show, I'll give a pass to it. But like, to stay on Rick and Morty,
The Spider-Man jumping is nauseating. Also, honestly, it looks stupid that he uses the spider webs now as jets to basically fly. He's just flying. He's not. This is not Spider-Man. This is Flyman.
When he goes up for a moment.
It's Superman, because he has to fly through those rings back in the old game.
Oh, fuck you.
Yeah, no, I don't think I missed out here.
All right.
What I loved about Rick and Morty, on top of the comedy, was they
he
genuinely
really
would
has
have
to go
like,
through
interesting
rings.
plot lines to follow at points, or just
It
like
does, yes.
wacky shit. I feel like when a show like that loses its kind of like touch, whether it be its comedy or like, you know, the wacky plot lines don't
Spider-Man
like, you know,
64.
start getting less interesting, then I would look at those shows and be like,
that's what I mean.
It's falling off,
using
or
the
it's
things
not
as
very
jets.
good. Just wanted to put that caveat in there. Anyways,
What is
the
that
third
attached
part
to?
of brain rot culture, which stems into point 4 and 5, is
Oh,
something
yeah.
I'll call
boy.
a popular
Boy.
opinion. When a lot of people like something and praise it as very good, it can be a bit discouraging to make a critique video of that thing, even if your points are well founded and laid out. And this leads us to point 4. When someone makes a video and details or outlines their points with nuance, whether it be a critique of something or a response to someone else, and people leave comments just saying shit like, I'll take, bro. Just put the fries in the bag, bro. Bro is not cooking with this one, or nah, this thing is shit. Now, to be
Isn't that what you did by just insulting those other people?
Yes.
absolutely fair, not everyone is gonna want to break down your points and explain why they disagree. And sometimes these kind of nothing burger comments can be fine, if the points within the video have nothing to have an interesting discussion about. But at the same time, you look like a fucking moron. And when I make videos that are well thought
Look in the mirror much? Man. And you didn't even address the real arguments that people had, but just your strawman phantom arguments that you love to take, which is why the only guy you cite is Synthetic Man. Because he is actually a bit past the... He's left the realm of here.
Reality?
No, not reality. Just well... I don't have words.
It's okay.
I would say that he's kind of missing the argument here if he started off addressing your criteria and subjective versus objective and all these things that he's aware of, and now he's just going, oh, you're just dumb.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that was the main point of this.
Like he knows what he's talking about, but no. Because you just said things in a very amateurish way, therefore you're just dumb. No, that's their opinion. Why is it incorrect? What's the point?
Yeah, does it align with the objective or the subjective? Can you be a little bit more clear on what the problem is with media discourse?
Honestly, the topic is a little wishy-washy right now because
Oh my god.
we are getting confused as to what's happening, and we're talking about a specific version of brain rot, which is, I guess,
brain
argument.
rot is when people don't agree with me.
Well,
they don't have my opinion, so they have brain rot.
He's had 3 or 4 versions of it right now, and now he's talking about an argument ad populum, I think, and it's the guy, the jock, who's saying the thing. I like the thing in a certain way, and you're like, okay.
It's not even a jog. It's just random people on the internet just saying the dumbest shit.
And why is that relevant to this conversation? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've yet to understand.
Is he just
We're not at the end yet, but I would ask chat, what do you think on a scale of 1 to 10 is his level of hypocrisy?
7.
Well, we see what chat types.
I think there's a disconnect here. There's a dissonance between what he knows and what he's angry about, and he's not rambling, but it feels like he's rambling because he connected the dots so strangely in the first 7 minutes or 8 minutes, and then he just went into hate mode with people he disagrees with.
Well, it's almost like he wrote a script, but he only wrote like 2 pages. It's just rambled on to the rest.
So we got a 10 straight away.
Just writing a script doesn't mean that you have a good script. It just means that you wrote down lines. They don't need to connect together.
That's true.
The first draft is crap, and meh.
Well,
should have revised it. Yeah.
He's not as bad as a lot of people that were very scatterbrained that we've covered before. So he's just more articulate and more clear on what he believes, but he has the same problems as those other people as delving into their emotions. Oh, I hate these kinds of other people on Twitter, which is irrelevant to your argument of whatever the heck modern media discourse is supposed to be. I don't think Twitter is part of modern media. I would never go to Twitter to get opinions. I don't know why you'd...
Or TikTok.
Any social media for that matter. YouTube, at least you can articulate an idea with evidence and have an essay and show things and say why it's good or bad. With TikTok, if you get, I don't know, what is it, a minute? The shorts? I have no idea. Anyway.
Which is a bunch of clips of people with short attention span. That's what people refer to as brain rot, but he's not using it in that sense, so...
Maybe it's the general opinion of these fans that he's referring to it as a popular argument. I don't know. Anyway.
What is it with you Americans putting buildings on buildings, by the
Nope,
way?
it's bad. Or L-take, bro. I genuinely just think you're an idiot who probably doesn't even know why you disagree with me, truly. You probably just dislike the thing I'm defending, or like the thing that I'm criticizing, and can't think of an actual rebuttal to the point. I don't respect these comments at all, and they aren't helpful to any kind of discussion. And sometimes I do get comments from people trying to respond to the points being made, and while I can at least respect it a bit more, sometimes people in my comments either say some really dumb shit to refute one of my points, like very obviously some dumb shit to anyone with a...
Why is it... Yeah, people are stupid. What does this have anything to do with media discourse?
Well, what are the examples?
He just made some stuff up about random guys saying silly things they like. It's like, fine.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to humanity. Did you know that
stupid head.
Wait, but did you know that every day new humans are born, and those new humans born, they don't know anything. And eventually, they turn 12 or 14, and they get onto the internet, and they still don't know anything, but they have learned to type. And then they type things, and they try to answer and refute your points with their emotional opinions and their very little knowledge, and you sit there and you treat them as if they're 30-year-olds that should know everything that you know. And then you wonder why you get stupid responses. That makes you the idiot.
Also, I noticed that we mentioned MCU Spider-Man earlier. He's been using that suit this whole time.
Really?
Bias much?
That's fine. Let's keep.
I'll be honest. The gameplay is giving me a headache. Like, you can play it however you want, but man, he's playing it like a maniac. It's just holy shit.
I'd get less nauseated if he played Bayonetta.
up with some kind of coping mechanism in their head to just walk around the shit that was actually said. This is also one of the reasons why I really hate arguing with people in comment sections, which is why we have Disagreement Day. But for prime examples of this, I have 1, 2, 3 videos and numerous examples on our Disagreement Day streams where this kind of shit happens. Where people try to tiptoe around the criticism, and when they actually get into a call, it's much harder for them to tiptoe around the criticism. And hell, it doesn't even have to be criticisms that I've laid out on a project. It could be me praising something, or saying something is good, and someone either saying no, it's bad, or giving really stupid reasons why something is bad in my comments, and majority of the time...
Okay, props to you for that format, but I doubt you are arguing as good as you think you are.
Or
yes, Eric?
But does he not understand that there's trolls as well that would do this sort of shit? That's what I
mean
hear.
like him, because he acts like one.
I don't think he's. I'm trying to avoid insulting his intelligence.
But he would be the prime target of trolls.
Yeah, I don't think he's smart enough.
I think it's easy. Got like an ego on him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got 2 minutes.
Two more minutes. It's just gonna get. Maybe I have a feeling we'll skip on the insanity
Disagreement
today.
Day, even though they know we do this. Come debate about something if they don't really care that
They'll just
much.
fizzle
But if
out.
you're gonna be a little snarky bitch in a comment section, why are you scared to have a discussion about the shit you're saying? And I try to be as respectful as possible to people who want to express a disagreement with an actual, discussion. But sometimes when I see some astronomically dumb shit, or when someone leaves a snarky ass comment, I start to stop caring about respect. And then finally, point number 5 within brain rot culture. Casual audiences who can't comprehend why people take things like video games, movies, and
Should we
TV
have
shows
paused on that?
seriously when it comes to discussing them.
I've never had the problem of a casual audience or a passerby or a friend or a family member talking about the thing I like. That just this is not a problem. Their opinion is irrelevant. Like, what does it matter?
Wait, what did he say? Tourist?
Essentially, casual audience.
Culture. Casual audiences who can't comprehend why people take things like video games, movies, and TV shows seriously when it comes to discussing them, or why...
This is a non-issue.
Why would a casual audience interact with you?
Well, that's what I mean. It would be like something interpersonal, like a friends passing by or family members like asking you, what are you doing? Like this basic stuff like that.
Casual audience wouldn't even watch your content.
Yeah, they'd be like, what is that? I'm not into that. Who cares? Bye. This is a non-issue, so maybe he's got some beef with people he doesn't know. I don't get it.
Well, that's his fault. He's being an asshole and he gets treated like an asshole.
Who knows?
people care so much about it. I often get comments, whether it be me praising something, defending something, or criticizing something, that says stuff along the lines of, it's not that deep, or other things that I mentioned earlier.
Well, that's not a casual
It
person.
really isn't.
Maybe it isn't that deep. There's lots of things that aren't that deep, and you're...
Can you show examples again?
Yeah.
We didn't pause on the last ones.
It's okay. This is
No, we're just there for frames. That's annoying.
This is apparently a form of brain rot, but there's nothing here. There's nothing. There's a non-issue.
Those comments here said it was
Care about someone else's opinion. Now, why is this part of brain rot culture, you may ask? Well, quite simply because it takes zero brain power to understand why people would care so much and are so invested in things that bring them a lot of enjoyment. When people say it's not that deep, it's often used as a deflection against what was said. There are things that aren't that deep, quote unquote. If you want to say someone who killed someone over a minor altercation, or if someone lost $1 and they were losing their mind over it, or if someone says that they don't like a character's costume or writing just because it's not their personal taste and you lose your shit at that person just because, sure, in examples like that, yeah, it's not that deep. But again, if someone is actively calling shit bad or parading around bad shit as if it's good and shitting on you for criticizing that thing, and their reasoning for that is very poor and people start to parrot that shit, which goes back to the popular opinion thing, this can cause problems that I outlined earlier in the video about what media discourse can do to...
Oh, so the objectively bad stuff that the woke create, that we call out, and that they try to peddle as actually totally good and we should like it, or we are stupid and other evil words. So that is actually bad. But you said we shouldn't have a problem with that because you didn't even address it because you reduced it to us just not liking women or some bullshit.
Yeah, this is exaggeration I've never heard of before. I've never heard this argument.
He's a complete hypocrite.
I'm going to unironically use the term that he fucking despises. It's not that deep, mate. Some people just like things you don't and dislike the things that you do. It's not deep. They're just, it's just personal taste.
Yeah, this is the argument I usually have with people over Cowboy Bebop. It does have substance, but it's not as deep as you think. It's just right. Everything's just the right size, shape, length. The music is just right. The lines are just right. Yeah, there could have been more, but I don't think there needs to be more. I think it'd been fine the way it is. So I've never heard of a third party coming in and ruining discussion ever. Never happens. So yeah, who cares? Anyway, we're almost done.
That's about everything I need to say about my problems with media discourse nowadays. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would become a channel member or support me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Channel members will get access to most of my videos early as well. I thank you all for watching, and yeah, let me know what you think.
Go Brooks.
Wow.
Your Discord, which is he doesn't like it when people don't like the stuff that he does, or like
He
the
doesn't.
stuff that
He doesn't like when they don't argue the way he does.
Is he just Superman in all of he's just using Superman as an avatar, literally. He's just
You mean Spider-Man?
Sorry, Spider-Man, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's also red and blue.
I was watching him Spider-Man fly through the air. I was like, okay, what's going on?
I mean, Spider-Man.
Okay.
I mean, Spider-Man is red and blue literally because of Superman.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we'll get Smud. They all look alike to you.
So chat, the people who participated are giving him an average of 9.3 out of 10 on the hypocrisy scale.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Say that again. Sorry.
9.3.
Yeah, and Enigma turned it into 10. And,
I have considered. Yeah, I've taken that in.
All right.
Anyway, memes. Starting with Legacy.
Here we go. Power scalers. Write that he transcends the concept of space and time already. Mangaka making a manga series.
Don't give it.
Yeah.
Although the thing is, Toriyama did give at least a little bit of a shit about how characters scale between each other.
Oh, when I'm in
to the point where the current writing staff do kind of use power scaling so that shit makes some kind of sense.
That's a few years too late. When I'm in a causing brain rot competition and my opponent is power scaling. Oh. I'm not going to read this guy's...
Power scaling isn't brain rot.
This is just Spider-Man learning that he has spider sense for the first time.
Yeah.
Smudcast talking about what flaws in the video. Me Too, distracted by humans getting bounced on the concrete. Yeah, that was too much at times. The turning into Venom and doing all kinds of crazy maneuvers. Yeah, people are not basketballs, guys. Eric, what do you got for us? MJ, please. Oh God, the fridge is too strong. I don't have a gun like you. MJ, I can't fight it, please.
Meanwhile, this man can stop multiple cars at once.
Yeah. Okay, what we got here?
Another feat of strength.
Oh, a building. That's amazing.
No, subway. Subway.
Oh, it's Subway. I'm sorry. Okay.
But that's what I mean. Like, how can he not push a fridge that quick? Those 9 seconds could have saved Mary Jane's life, and it didn't. So
is that Green Goblin or someone else? The ground.
Propaganda wasn't. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that's journalists complaining about cops.
The craptivists.
Kotaku. Spider-Man's take on police feels. Who listens to Kotaku these days?
No, it's
developers.
Me and the boys when we touched down Japan.
The first game was very on point with his relation. The first game was Rhino, Vulture, Electro, and Goblin.
Oh, look at that!
Just a meme. SGBs.
Okay. I was gonna say the first Insomniac game was very on point with his relationship with the cops.
I like this. It's cute.
Some cops like him, some cops hate him.
Yeah.
Hey, heck yeah, I want nudes. Dude, undeveloped, distinct images, effectively showing Spider-Man. What?
Face.
Normally does some cops, like and hate him. Jameson actually makes a good point about Spider-Man versus the police. The police have accountability where Spider-Man generally doesn't.
Is this guy using laser beams from his eyes to fly?
Yeah, the basilisk.
Oh my god.
I mean, there's worse. There's Big Wheel.
The world,
I don't even want to know.
The world if
Big Wheel?
Skibidi toilet haters. Skibidi? What's a Skibidi toilet? Does anyone know?
You don't want to know.
All right.
I think it's from
No.
Rick and
Don't.
Morty.
Anyway, actually named something bad about it instead of just calling it brain rot.
I was gonna say Big Wheel is just a guy that rides rides in a giant wheel. That's all he is.
I said I didn't want to know.
All right. 2B's weight as an android is 153 kilograms. Wow.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
quite a lot.
That is dense. For that body, that is very dense. She must have steel everywhere.
Well, she is an android.
Considering how
She's
durable
mechanical. Smud, didn't you know? Did you thought she's
I
a
thought
real
it was
girl?
plastic. I don't know it was steel. Anyway.
Well,
Never
there's
asked-
the same joke about Pyra, but they only ran for it for one scene, and then they kind of forgot about it.
Why are we looking at Nadia, Secret of Blue Water? What is... Never ask a white
Guys,
supremacist.
Jesus and the Furrier boxing. Nice.
Take care of your mental health. Talk about your feelings. Keep active. Eat a potato. Eat a potato.
And potato?
Reset it.
Learn grammar.
Throw your phone in the lake. Kiss a bird gently. Scowl. Make fun of someone you don't like. Lie down in the dirt and let the earth slowly reclaim you.
Oh, how many options? I don't know which one to choose.
I think the potato is the best.
All of the above.
Yeah, but there's a grammar mistake. You can't have a grammar mistake with a potato.
For some context on the miscegenation comment?
Synthetic man clips.
Oh. I'll watch those later.
Yeah.
Crowd cheering at Maria getting shot. Sonic Symphony.
Oh my god.
It's a meme that has existed for decades.
Here we go.
Is this actually real?
Yes. and it's weird that I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. And I am a Sonic fan.
Oh, this is from the game. Okay.
Yes. And they're gonna put it in the third movie.
Christ, man.
I mean, it's part of the backstory. I won't knock it for that.
What do men want? Sorry, what do men want? Visually appealing female characters. That doesn't always mean sexual. Okay, good point.
What kind of scaling is that? Because that is not the level order which I first thought.
I'm gonna have to open that later because it's too small.
Judgment is not a 4.
Azazel, Pandemonica, Modius, Judgment, Justice, Cerberus, Beelzebub.
Is that a roll 63 Sun Wukong?
No, that's Sun from Marvel 2.
You, a female.
She is related to Wukong actually, but not Wukong.
Wake up, Hollywood sees that your existence, do nothing. Hollywood sees that your existence, do nothing. Don't watch any other movies. Hollywood sees that your existence. Go on the internet and say a series is gay. Said series gets canceled. Watch a movie. You actually like it. Hollywood sees that your existence. Do nothing. They make a sequel dedicated to seething about you. Do nothing. It bombs. Do nothing. You won. Okay. I mean, just don't watch
Nothing
things.
happens.
What's this? It is foolish to like Gyaru when they are extinct. There is no such thing as a boy who doesn't like dinosaurs. That's very convincing. Ha ha.
There are even a lot of girls who like dinosaurs.
They say all cops are bad, but who turns out to be Miles' dad, who's also one of the best characters in the first game, unironically? Really?
Yes, he is.
Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis.
That's their problem. That's why they got accused of propaganda.
Funny stuff. Here we go.
Yeah, that's a funny video.
All right. He wasn't that bad, okay? He near the last half, it was like, okay, this is not that great, but
Yeah.
we've heard a lot worse.
I think the first half just was just there to lure us into believing that he can possibly make sense.
Yeah. Oh, there it is, Big
Why?
Wheel.
Why? Why did you have to share it?
That's Big Wheel. And reminder that Big Wheel was in the '90s cartoon for an episode.
Oh my.
That's just a Star Wars thingy.
Yeah, that's kind of the joke.
All right. Oh, we got a super chat. I'm sorry about that, JJ Manis. Thank you for the big $1.10 in Canada, which is 1.35 times the American dollar. Anyway, this guy is just a pretentious art house student. Not necessarily. I think there's more to him than that. Who's terminally online, maybe.
Example, Smud?
No, we've had way worse. we could.
Yeah.
He is not that bad. Who
He's
constantly
right.
picks fights online all the time. Oh, really? All while failing to understand nobody cares what he thinks?
Well, he did mention early on in the video that his most popular videos were him responding to other people. So
Yeah, I mean, whatever you like doing online is his business, and people like it. Good for him.
And then he brought up having debating with people who disagree with him.
Yeah, but
so he's terminally 16.
But the argument about nitpicking and not nitpicking, it's like, is it relevant to the plot? What's the contention? Where is the issue of the nitpick, and where is it breaking something else? Like what's the problem exactly? And once you address that, then like, okay, fine. You have a criteria for cosmetics. I have a criteria for logic or whatever. I hold logic above cosmetics. There you go. So I don't again, context doesn't matter, but I haven't watched that or seen that part of the game to know exactly what he's talking about. Either way, a little good, little bad in this video, and I think this is a person we can actually talk to.
A little good, a lot of bad.
Whoa, Smud, say that again?
I think we can actually talk to this guy because he doesn't sound unreasonable to discuss things with, if we ever wanted to. I'm not saying we want to. Or I would want to, but
man, if his ego is that fragile, I mean, he's gonna want to talk to you.
I don't think he's that egotistical. I don't think he's that bad. I think his
don't
hatred to
know.
things he dislikes is obvious. I think that's about it. And if he could just be a little bit more objective and a little more open to opinion of his definitions. Again, the nitpick one was weird. The way he went about describing things, like he started with definitions, and he gave examples, and he just jumped without finishing the thought. He just jumped to another topic, like plot armor. It's like, whoa. And then he sort of brought it back with cause and effect or causation, and then he just kept going. And then he just jumped into the hatred towards the YouTubers, which was weird. So, yeah.
So Smud, Russian Asset asks, Smud still into gay manga? I didn't know you read My Hero Academia.
I read all kinds of manga. I don't think I've read gay manga. Like manga for women, like who like sexual, what is it called? Yaoi, I think it's called. Yaoi? Yaoi? I can't remember. I don't know. I haven't read those, so I don't know. There could be some good ones. I have no idea. People recommend crap to me all the time. I sometimes look at it. Couldn't tell you. But I have the anime that's come out this week. I'd say about 3 of them are based off manga. 1 of them I read, and none of them work. They don't like any of them.
Most anime is based off of manga. It's
usually, yeah.
It's basically like it's like how most movies are based on books.
The good ones, the better ones, like some science fiction ones. You can't just do science fiction without basing it off a book versus too complicated to do that. We could try, but that implies you actually know how to write, and you can do it on the fly. But not very easy for most people, and the genre is very specific. But I think the anime I watched, only one I kind of like was the Amagami-san, which is a guy who's in med school, and he goes to his shrine, and there's 3 shrine maidens, and it starts off innocent enough. It gets silly in the manga. But the whole idea is, who's he going to marry? So it's a comedy where you're expecting a marriage.
The shrine maiden.
The shrine maidens, yeah. So the implication in the title is he's going to marry someone, but even today, the manga is still going on. There's no understanding of who he's going to marry. None whatsoever. So it just keeps going on, and that's kind of annoying. There's all these isekai ones. One of them is I Want to Be Reborn as the villainess. That manga is still ongoing. That's somewhat entertaining, I guess, but again, it's a superpowered character, but I don't care. Another one, Talker Class, another isekai. They're all relatively nothing interesting, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm not going to get into that. That was just this week in the wonderful world of Japan.
I learned there was another Slayer series that I missed ever came out.
Really?
So I have something to watch.
That's unheard of. Okay. Well, I'm going to go get some tea and relax and contemplate life with the family because God knows what we're doing for Canadian Thanksgiving in another week or so. Takes a bit of planning and organization and calling and getting times right.
Well, if it works out.
Yeah, well, family get-togethers this year has been pretty wild in my family, so we'll see what's happening with everyone and hopefully have a good time together. Either way, thanks, guys. That was a good video. I enjoyed it. There was highs and lows, and I don't
really?
know. Yeah, I don't think. Imagine I changed my avatar to Batman. I don't think that would work very well. It's probably not very original. Would be some copyright issues. Not a good idea. Not a good look. But anyway, hope he does well on this channel. He obviously likes media. Good on him. And thanks, guys, for the recommendation. We'll talk to you soon. Keep the suggestions coming, the voting going. And see you soon. Good night.
Night.
EBD.